All right, are we ready in the back? All right. All right, welcome to Lower Makefield Township Zoning Hearing Board for November 18th, 2025. We have 4 matters on the agenda. We'll call you up, the applicant up, you'll be sworn in. Following being sworn in, we will have the exhibits read into record, and then you will be asked to present your case. So first matter on the agenda is Z2539, 1509 Yardley, Morrisville Road. Please come forward and sit down.
Several exhibits have been marked on this application. The exhibits are A1, the application itself, A2, site plans consisting of 4 sheets, A3, pool drawings and plans consisting of 10 sheets, B1 is proof of publication, B2, proof of posting, and B3 are the notice to the neighbors.
Would you state and spell your full name, please? Anthony James Fiorelli. You have to touch that. Would you touch that button on there? Thank you.
Anthony James Fiorelli,
Spell your last name.
Fiorelli.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, before you proceed, can you confirm that our alternate Masood is online? Masood, if you can hear us, make some noise.
She is not online.
That would be a he. Masood is not online. Okay.
Sounded like you said Miss Sue.
Yeah, it did sound like I said Miss Sue. Anyway, Masood, are you there? I'm sorry.
There is no Miss Sue.
So is Rob Hines in the building? Bob, come on up, brother. Right over here.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's wait for Dan to resituate, and then Mr. Fiorelli, we're going to turn the floor over to you. All right. Will you please explain what you're hoping to do?
I'm just trying to install a pool in my backyard. I understand that I'm going over the impervious surface. I think putting the pool in goes to 19.2 to 20%, which I believe is max at 18. To be honest with you, I don't know a lot about installing pools. I don't know if the K&S pool is on the line. They said they'd be calling in. I was kind of hoping.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so trying to figure out what the best way is to proceed.
All right. Did you say K&S pools?
Correct.
Yes.
So you're going to be sworn in. Ed, you want to swear him in?
Would you state and spell your full name, please?
Thomas Schreiber, SCHREI, B as in boy, ER.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. Please explain the project to us. And
So we're putting in a swimming pool, and we're basically putting a 300 square foot pad walkway around the pool. The site was already over, so we're only adding 300 square foot. We are proposing a infiltration trench to relieve the surface. It's if you see it, it's on the plan up above the pool. It's 13 foot long, 6 foot deep, 3 foot wide, and there's calculations for that. So basically, yeah, he's asking for the relief for 300 square feet, but what it was kind of the deal was 18 is the number, and it was the property was already at 19 when we started.
all right. everybody up here has the same question. Who wants to ask it?
All right, so your proposed trench is going to bring it back to 18?
I believe that's how they do the calculation.
Yes, it's a little below 18%, so they're,
It's my only question.
I thought that might be the only question also. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, is there any public comment in the room?
Actually, I do have one question here. There's no contour lines on the drawing that we have up here. So I guess just the question is, how is this capturing water?
So there is, if you look at, I'm sorry, page.
Okay, there are
page
some.
404.
Okay, go ahead.
On page 404, it explains the trench, and if you see, there's 2 yard drains.
And you're going to grade to those drains then?
Exactly, yes,
Oh,
that's
okay.
how it works, grade down to the drains.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online? Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve Appeal Z2539, as presented with the effective impervious surface ending at 18% or below, subject to approval of the township engineers.
Second.
Discussion? I mean, that covers it. Mike, you okay with how that was worded? You don't really care, do you?
If they're back to the proper number, it's fine.
Perfect. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody. All right, motion passed. Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. That was perfect.
All right, next up on our agenda is Z2540, Mulholland, 1327 University Drive. Please come forward. Are they online? Is Mulholland online? I'm sorry?
Hello,
That,
you guys hear?
yeah, we can hear. Is that Mr. Mulholland?
Yeah, that is it. I'm Matt Mulholland.
Oh, okay, great. All right, Matt. Mike, you go to do the exhibits first, and then we'll
Yep.
have them sworn in?
Yeah, the exhibits that have been marked are A1, the application, A2, the site plan consisting of one sheet, A3, a work order estimate, which displays the dimensions of the fence outline, B1 is proof of publication, B2 is proof of posting, and B3 is notice to the neighbors.
Would you state your full name, please?
Matthew Mulholland.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mulholland, please present to us what you're trying to do.
Great. Thank you guys for having me. What I'm looking to do is put up a fence around my property to replace a split rail fence that had fallen down. On part of the property line, there is an easement for a sewer between Albright Drive, and University Drive. So it would be on the property line above that sewer, significantly above where the sewer piping is. So I don't envision there will be any conflict. Again, this is to replace an existing fence that had already been there. And I understand that should there be any need to remove the fence, that would be at my own cost.
All right, that's it right there? That would be it? In other words, you have nothing else to say?
No, but happy to
Okay.
take any questions.
All right, board, questions?
So this is for Dan. Is there an existing sewer there?
there is existing piping for drainage.
Okay. So sometimes in the past, when we've granted this easement, we've asked for an offset of a couple feet off the center line of the pipe to ensure that there isn't.
Yep, yeah, so I spoke with Derek Fuller, the Public Works Director. He said, in this subdivision, Sandy Run, the pipes aren't in the best condition and may need to be repaired/replaced within the next 10 years. So he thinks the fence should be at least 3 feet off the property line or away from the center line of the pipe. But yeah, 3 feet off the property line would suffice.
All right. Maureen, I know the township's participating. Would you like to jump in?
We are, but I think Dan just summarized our concerns. If the fence is placed 3 feet off the sewer easement or the sewer line and will be removed by the homeowner at the homeowner's expense if needed in the future, to be removed by the township, we're fine.
All right, Dan, can we get the exact wording of what Public Works recommended? Because I'm a little unclear. Is it 3 feet off of the easement? Is it
The
3 feet off the property line?
So yeah, the fence would need to be 3 feet, at least 3 feet off property line.
Okay, that's different than how we've done it in the past, but I'm fine with that. In
Yeah.
the past, we've usually said center line of
Yep.
pipe.
Yeah, no, he specified property line.
And is that because the pipe itself is right on the property line?
I think it kind of borders both properties.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mulholland, I'm assuming that's acceptable to you?
If that's allowed, that's acceptable.
Okay. Any other questions before I ask for public comment? Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online? Would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve Appeal Z 25-40 with the fence to be located at least 3 feet off the property line and with it to be subject to removal at the cost of the property owner if needed by the township to access the line.
Second.
Discussion. Do we need to say at least 3 feet off the property line, subject to township engineer approval, or is?
No, he doesn't.
Okay, perfect. All right, all those in favor?
Can I interrupt?
Aye.
Absolutely.
I apologize. This is a sewer easement?
Yes, it's a storm sewer easement.
Yeah, so maybe suggest that we amend the motion to state that if it should need to be accessed by the township and/or the sewer owner, because in this case, it's Aqua.
The easement holder.
Okay.
No, so sanitary sewer would be.
sanitary?
No,
Oh.
so sanitary sewer would be Aqua. It's the storm sewer easement.
This is a storm sewer?
Yeah, so it's
Okay, I
township.
apologize then.
Yep.
No need to amend.
No worries.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
So we have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck, Mr. Mulholland.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Up next is Appeal Z 2541, 300 Robin Hood Road. Please come forward.
And the exhibits that have been marked for this application are A1, the application itself, A2, the site plans consisting of 2 sheets, B1, which is the proof of publication, B2, proof of posting, and Exhibit B3 is notice to the neighbors.
Would you each state and spell your full name?
My name is Justin Hoff. It's a Justin HOPF.
PF.
PF.
My name is Samuel D'Alessandro, D'Alessandro. I'm a professional engineer with the firm of UTRS Civil and Environmental Engineering, representing the applicant.
Do you each solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
All right. You both have the floor.
So my plan is to just put in a pool. I hired a pool company called Premier Pool Companies, and then they just set it up with an engineer. I don't really understand much about the how water moves and all that kind of stuff, but apparently they figured that all out. So I'm just going to let him talk about it. And then,
As the applicant that was before you first, our variance request is from the requirements of Section 223B of the zoning ordinance, which limits impervious area on lots created before December 14th, 1987 to 18%. Excuse me. The existing lot is 19,681 square feet in an R2 zone. Presently, there's a single-family dwelling, a detached garage, a deck, a walkway, and a driveway. The impervious coverage is 4,538 square feet, or 23.1%. The proposed improvements would be to install a 20 by 40-foot fiberglass swimming pool, a 3-foot perimeter lock collar around 3 sides of the pool, and then an 11-foot, 8-inch combination lock collar and deck along the shallow 20-foot side. We'd also propose to install a 27-square-foot pad for the pool filtering equipment. The new impervious coverage is 688 square feet, or 3.5% increase. The new total would be 5,226 square feet, or 26.6% coverage. If the lot was created after December 14th, 1987, the ordinance would allow a total of 28%. After the construction, ours would be 26.6, which is less than the 28. A stormwater management system consisting of an infiltration basin and utilizing existing tree cover is proposed, which would mitigate the additional volume from the 688 square feet. It would bring the lot back to its current condition of 23.6%. The pool will also utilize a cartridge filter, so there would be no backwash. Section 297, variance appeal items. Number one, the hardship is a result of the lot being developed prior to 1987. The relief sought is the minimum necessary to allow the installation of the swimming pool and the lock collar and filtration equipment. The hardship was not created by the applicant. The area immediately downslope of the site is a strip of land that provides a driveway access to another lot that appeared to be landlocked. The development of the swimming pool would not adversely affect the use of that driveway or the lot. We would request, if possible, to get a variance to allow the 26.6% coverage, mitigating back to the original or existing 23.1%.
All right, board, questions?
Dan, how much larger would their proposed seepage pit need to be to get it to 18%?
I don't have the numbers right now, but we'd be willing to talk with the applicant to figure out the numbers to get it back to the 18%.
We've been on a push with all of these applications to get back to the 18% where we can, mitigating
cool
all,
with it.
mitigating all the stormwater that we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just because this comes up frequently here, and
Yeah.
it comes before a lot of us here, that there are a lot of stormwater management issues
Yeah,
in this township, and when the opportunities, you're asking for, people come to ask for these variances, if it seems like a reasonable addition, we do ask for the additional mitigation back to improve the situation, because we do have stormwater issues, and you're getting the benefit of the additional
Yeah.
exterior.
I honestly went into this ahead of time saying like, hey, I want you to go overboard with it because like just in case, you know? So like I'm cool with that. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, so
Figure out what that needs to
pretty
be.
much in our viewpoint, you're already digging to put in a trench, and we'd
Yeah.
like to see it accommodate the additional rain runoff to get it to the 18%.
Cool.
Which usually mitigates some of the neighbors' concerns that we hear on these sorts of applications, because we could say, yes, they're putting in a deck or they're putting in a pool or whatever, but the stormwater situation should actually be better.
Yeah, that was
After.
kind of like what my hope was, the end goal. Yeah. It's kind of what I'm going for.
Mr. Vettori, is that correct? No, Mr. D'Alessandro, I apologize. I knew it was Italian. I was so far off, but not that far off. Anyway, you testified that the pool's going to be 20 by 40, but on the plans it says 16 by 40 inside the pool perimeter. So,
The pool itself is 16-foot width, like the fiberglass pool.
Sorry, I misspoke.
okay,
The water area, yeah.
That's ingrained in my head. I remember.
all right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page, that we didn't have something that was presented inappropriately. Any other questions before I ask for public comment? Any public comment in the room? Any public comment online? Very rare we have public comment against pools. People seem to enjoy pools in this township.
Unless there's a neighbor downhill, and then we have the conversation I was
neighbors
trying to
don't
head off there.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll do it. Motion to approve Appeal Z 25-41, as presented, mitigating the stormwater to 18% with the filtration trench size verified by the township approval.
All right, let's take another run at it, Christian. We're going to want to say mitigating back to an effective 18%.
Subject to the township and.
Bingo. Okay. So it's the motion to approve Appeal Z 2541 as presented, subject to approval by the township engineer to an effective rate of 18%.
Mike, you okay with that?
Yeah, the only thing that I saw here is I believe that the plan was to offset along with preserving existing trees, and I think that the goal here was to mitigate back without reliance on the existing trees.
That's correct, yeah.
I thought that was understood in it, but
Okay.
yeah, maybe we should add that language. So something like approve appeal, blah, 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 to mitigate the effective impervious surface back to 18% using an infiltration trench to mitigate all the way back to 18%, subject to township approval, something like that.
Thought that's what I said.
A little all over the place, but mostly there.
Okay, so we're going to add the trees into this?
No, we're not adding trees.
Not
We're
adding
saying-
the trees.
We're saying utilizing an infiltration trench to.
Got it.
Solely using
Okay.
an infiltration trench for.
All right, so the
storm.
approval, the motion is to approve Appeal Z 2541 as presented with the infiltration trench mitigating all the additional runoff over 18% approved by the township engineer. With
All right.
effective 18%.
There we go, effective 18%. Thanks,
I knew
Christian.
you wanted the effective in there.
I did, thank you. Can we get a second? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. I went through exactly what you're going through. All right. The last appeal on our agenda tonight is Z2538. McShea, Jonas, BTC, please come forward.
Okay. There are a large number of exhibits that I will go through here. The exhibits that have been previously marked are Exhibit A1, the application, Exhibit A2, the addendum to the application with reasons for relief, A3, the aerial plan, A4, the conditional use plan, A5, site photographs, which is 9 photographs on one sheet, A6 is a traffic study, B1, proof of publication, B2, proof of posting, and B3, notice to neighbors. The applicant is also submitting additional exhibits tonight, which we're going to number C1 through C12 as follows. C1 is a purchase and sale agreement, C2, lease agreement, C3, operating agreement, C4, zoning hearing board decision dated February 7th, 1995, C5, the CV of Gregory Elko, C6, an aerial plan, C7, photographs of property consisting of the existing building photograph, street frontage photographs, driveway photographs, and existing signage photographs. C8, townships.
See that. Sorry.
Yeah. The township sign permit report, 18-1239. C9, township sign permit report, 19-1841. C10, a site plan. C11, the memorandum of Greg Elko dated October 6, 2025. And C12, the CV of Michelle Parks.
So Jonas, how many witnesses do you have?
2,
Can I have them both sworn in?
certainly.
Who's the second witness? Oh. Would you each state and spell your full name?
Michelle Parks, MICHELLE-PARKS.
Gregory Elko, GREGORYELKO.
Do you both solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, my name is Mark Jonas. I'm with the law firm of Eastburn and Gray. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. This is for the property at 600 Township Line Road. It's zoned OR. We are proposing and we are requesting relief for a 65-bed inpatient treatment and rehabilitation facility. There's some context I think that's important as we talk about the variances that we are requesting. The OR district does have a number of institutional uses that it permits. It does not permit what we are proposing today. That was determined by the zoning officer. But other institutional uses in the zoning district include a community treatment and rehabilitation facility that does not squarely fit within what is proposed tonight. The zoning district also allows for a hospital use as one of the permitted uses, and hospital uses in the zoning ordinance refers to mental health care. There is also a permitted use of nursing homes. That also is a use that allows for mental health care and rehabilitation. So the variances we are seeking are for a use that is very similar to what is permitted. It's possible that the ordinance doesn't permit this land use anywhere in the township, but that is not a legal issue that is before the board tonight. There was also some history here with regard to the property. There was a previous zoning hearing board decision that granted 3 variances. The zoning was different at that time, but the variances related to lot size, front yard, and side yard setback. There's also a history with regard to signage. There is no new signage being proposed by the applicant. So we are seeking, based upon the exchange of information with the zoning officer, a use variance for this particular use. Alternatively, we are requesting what is known as a reasonable accommodation. That invokes federal law under the Fair Housing Act and the ADA. So that is an issue before the board tonight as an alternative to the request for a use variance. We are also seeking a variance as advertised for parking, although the question is if the use is not expressly permitted and you're seeking a use variance, the question is what parking formula applies, but to be conservative, we are seeking zoning relief, a variance with regard to parking. With regard to the federal issue, both the Fair Housing Amendments Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act require that municipal zoning hearing boards make reasonable accommodations in order to provide qualified individuals with an equal opportunity to receive benefits from or to participate in programs run by such entities. Under the FHAA and the ADA, a government entity engages in a discriminatory practice if it refuses to make a reasonable accommodation. The ADA defines an individual with disability as anyone with a mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. And also in terms of the context of the OR district, there are institutional uses that permit uses that might be even more of concern to neighbors or to the township than to a facility that provides for mental health treatment. So we ask the board to consider those issues, including the federal issue tonight, as we present our case through our two witnesses. Our exhibit booklet, which your solicitor has identified as C1 through C12, include in the first three the purchase and sale agreement with regard to the buyer and the seller of the property, and then a lease agreement from the buyer to a tenant, and then an operating agreement that identifies the operator, that is the applicant before you. Now, that would be, without question, very exciting testimony, but we would ask the board to consider based on the exhibits that are C1, C2, and 3, and ask the solicitor if the board will agree that for at least the purpose of standing to be here tonight, that we have the requisite standing and we can go on to the substantive issues before the board.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Mike?
Yeah, I have no dispute with that.
So as we go just quickly through the exhibit booklet in the effort to just be as thorough as possible in presenting our case, you'll see Exhibit C4 is a 1995 zoning hearing board decision that granted certain variances for the property. Number 5 is the curriculum vitae of Mr. Elko, who will be our first witness. Number 6 is an aerial plan that Mr. Elko will describe. Number 7, A, B, C, and D are photographs that Mr. Elko will discuss. Number 8 and 9 are the signed permit report that we'd ask the board to take judicial notice of without the need for testimony, since they are township records. We have a site plan. We then have number 11, a traffic and parking memorandum, and number 12 is the curriculum vitae of Michelle Parks, who is a representative of the applicant. And with that, with the board's permission, we'll introduce our first witness, Mr. Elko.
Proceed.
I would direct the board's attention to Exhibit 5. Mr. Elko, would you please identify your business or profession?
Yes, I'm a civil engineer practicing for over 32 years. I'm a managing principal at the firm of Langen Engineering and Environmental Services. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from Rutgers College of Engineering. I am a licensed professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as well, and I have testified before numerous boards throughout the region in my tenure. Yes, sorry.
Mr. Elko, can you identify some nearby boards before whom you testified?
Most recently, Bristol Township. I've been in front of Warwick. Earlier this week, or last week, I was in front of New Hanover Township out in Montgomery County. I do it once or twice a week, typically, in the evenings, as you are here.
And when you have testified, have you been offered and accepted as an expert witness?
Yes.
And in what area or areas of practice?
Generally civil engineering.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I ask that the board accept Mr. Elko as an expert in civil engineering with regard to zoning, subdivision, and land development.
So accepted.
Mr. Elko, you're familiar with the property we're discussing tonight?
Yes.
And are you also familiar with the zoning regulations for Lower Makefield Township?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to Exhibit 6. Would you describe that exhibit, what it shows, and how it relates to the application before the board?
So this is our drawing titled, or number CS 102, dated October 6th, 2025. This is an aerial view of the property. And I'll walk you through the site. The property address, as was stated, is 600 Township Line Road in Yardley, PA. It's approximately 4.37 acres in size. You can see it's triangular in shape. It's bounded by Langhorne Yardley Road to the south or southeast, and Township Line Road to the west. The property is in the OR Office Research Zoning District. And I'll describe the uses and the conditions around the perimeter of the site. To the due north is a wooded area, beyond which is a daycare facility to the immediate north, and then to the northeast of that is office uses, predominantly office uses. There's some medical office in there as well. To the southeast, across Langhorne Yardley Road, is a multifamily residential district in the R4 residential multiple family high-density zoning district. So that's south of the site. Looking east across Township Line Road, there's a single-family residential uses along the road. Those are in Middletown Township and the RA2 residential agricultural district. And then if I go to the northwest of the site, there's a single-family residential use also in Middletown Township, and that is in the RA1 residential agricultural district. If you zoom back in on the property, you can see here there's some existing facilities. It is an assisted living facility called Floral Vale. It is approximately 28,960 square foot building on that property. It is 46 beds. It's a senior living facility presently. And you can see there are a variety of improvements on the site. There's parking areas, there's driveways, there's sidewalks, there's stormwater management facilities. There are 3 freestanding signs that I'll point out. One sign is at the main entrance on Township Line Road. The second sign on the property is at the south corner where the 2 roads intersect. And then the third sign is along Langhorne Yardley Road, about halfway along the site frontage at that location.
How many street frontages does the property have?
It has 2.
And they are?
Langhorne Yardley Road and Township Line Road.
And the shape of the lot, is it regular or irregular?
Irregular, triangular in shape.
Direct your attention then to Exhibit C7. This is a series of photographs, is that correct?
Correct.
And they are further identified as A, B, C, and D?
Correct.
Let's start with photo 1A.
Yes, so these are photos that I took myself of this property on September 30th when I was visiting the site and inspecting the site. So this photo, it's labeled Photo 1, view looking east from Township Line Road of the front of the facility. Self-explanatory, that's the view of the existing building and the driveway that is in front of it. If I go to B, B has a few photos in it. Photo 2 is a view along the roadway frontage. This is looking northeast of the landscaped area along Langhorne Yardley Road. As you can see, the road is on the right-hand side of that photo. Photo 3 is the same orientation, just looking towards the site. So this is the large green area that is essentially behind the building as we see it from Langhorne Yardley Road. The next photograph, photo 5, is a view of the residential area across the street, south across the street, across Langhorne Yardley Road. And then if I go to section C, photo 4 is a view of the internal driveway that's to the north of the facility. This is looking west, so this is looking out towards Township Line Road. And photo 5 is a view of the open space that is, again, behind the building. So this is standing on that driveway I just described in photo 4, looking to the east along the row of trees in the open green area behind the building.
In the packet we have, that photo is labeled as photo 6,
I'm sorry, photo 6.
and I
Yes.
don't see a 5.
There is no photo 5. That's what it appears to be.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, and then looking at section D, these are the photos of the existing signs. So photo 7 is view of sign 1. I've designated those signs myself. So this is the sign that's at the main entrance, looking north on Township Line Road. Photo 8 is a view of sign number 2. This is at the corner of Langhorne Yardley Road and Township Line Road, looking north. And then photo 9 is what I called sign 3. This is the existing sign that is along Langhorne Yardley Road.
Mr. Relko, does each of the photographs fairly and accurately depict existing conditions?
Yes.
Now, the property based upon some previous zoning amendments and also based upon variances has certain aspects of it currently that are non-conforming, is that correct?
Correct.
And what are those?
All right, so I'll walk through those. The first 3 are from the same section of your zoning ordinance. This is section 200-49. So the first nonconformity is for lot size. The existing lot, as I mentioned, is about 4.37 acres in size, where the ordinance requires a minimum of 25 acres in size for this zoning district. The same section, 249, we also have an existing nonconforming front yard setback of 64.3 feet. That is the distance from the building to the property line along Langhorne Yardley Road, and the ordinance requires a minimum of 100 feet. And then the last one in this same section is a nonconforming side yard that is 37.5 feet, where a minimum of 75 feet is required, and that's the setback along the northern property line. In addition to those 3, there are 2 others related to signs. Section 200-85.c.3.c permits a maximum of 1 sign for this property. We have 3 signs that exist on the property, so that's an existing nonconformity. And then section 200-85.c.4 does not permit directly illuminated signs, and 2 of the 3 signs that exist today are directly illuminated.
And there's no proposal to change the existing signs and their characteristics, is that correct?
That is correct. The only thing that may change on the signs is swapping out the logos and the text on the signs, but the signs themselves will stay, same dimensions, same height, same locations.
Our exhibit booklet in 8 and 9 are copies of township records relating to permits for those signs, is that correct?
That is correct. I could describe them. So looking at Exhibit 8 first, this is in the tab number 8 in your book. This is Township Sign Permit Report 18-1239. This appears to be a sign permit application that was made on August 16th, 2018, and was approved on August 22nd, 2018, and the description of this permit states that it is approved for a 40 inches by 30 inches post and panel sign and a 60-inch by 50-inch post and panel sign in accordance with the submitted scope of work. So that's the first permit. In tab 9 of your book, this is another township sign permit. The permit number is 19-1841. This was applied for on November 26, 2019, and approved on December 16, 2019. And the permit describes that the work is, quote, approved to install illuminated sign 42.3 square feet and illuminated vertical sign 23.25 square feet in accordance with submitted plans.
The applicant is not proposing any site improvements, is that correct?
That is correct, except for a replacement of the 2 handicap signs that are in the front of the building that are currently non-conforming.
And you also prepared a site plan, is that
That's correct. Yeah, so that would be in tab number 10. This is our drawing CS-101 dated October 6th, 2025. What this plan shows is the existing site and the zoning analysis that we performed to convert the facility from a 48-bed senior assisted living facility to a 65-bed community treatment and rehabilitation facility. And on this exhibit, there's a zoning chart that's quite extensive. We prepared each item of the zoning requirements to what is being proposed. The chart notes where the individual requirements comply with the ordinance. It shows where the existing nonconformities are, which I walked through just now, and also shows the variances that are being requested, one for the use and the other for the parking.
Let's talk about parking. You have applied a form of parking even though the particular land use is not specifically identified in the parking regs of the townships. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Sir, sir.
Yeah,
You're not being picked up.
Yeah, you need to speak into the microphone, both of you. So can you repeat that, Mr. Jonas?
Yes. The parking analysis you did was based upon a land use that is different than what we are proposing because this land use is not identified in the parking regulations of the township. Is that correct?
Yes.
What category of land use did you use for comparing the parking demand?
So I used the Community Treatment and Rehabilitation Center use to apply the parking standard.
And that is a use that is permitted in the OR district, is that correct?
Correct. As a conditional use.
As a conditional use, but which is a form of
Which is a permitted use.
So describe the analysis you did based upon that different but comparable use.
Sure. So I'm referring to your ordinance, section 200-50.f, and there's also another ordinance, section 200-79, which refers to this use, and those sections explain how to calculate the required parking. So for a community treatment and rehabilitation center, you look at 2 variables. You look at the number of beds, and you look at the number of employees. So this facility will have 65 beds. The requirement is 1 parking space for every 3 beds. So using that standard, we need 22 spaces for the beds. And then the ordinance requires 1 space for every employee on the maximum shift. And so this facility will have 32 employees on the maximum shift, thereby requiring 32 spaces. And then we just simply add those 2 numbers together. 22 spaces plus 32 spaces is a requirement of 54 spaces using the ordinance requirements for a community treatment and rehabilitation center.
At the risk of repetition, you could not find in the ordinance parking regulations for the proposed 65-bed inpatient.
Mr. Jonas, you really have to pull that in closer.
Sorry. You could not find in the ordinance a category for parking requirements for the proposed use that's before the board tonight.
That is correct.
Did you also prepare a memorandum with regard to parking and traffic with regard to the site?
Yes,
And that's Exhibit 11?
that's correct.
Please describe that exhibit in terms of your findings and your conclusions.
Sure. So that exhibit is dated October 6, 2025 as well. It was submitted with the application materials. And what we did is we looked at the parking requirements for the ordinance, which I just described, and we compared that to the existing amount of parking that is at the site today, which are 38 spaces. So essentially, there's a difference of 16 spaces between the 54 that would be required using that use and the 38 spaces that are there. In consultation with the applicant and in my review of the parking requirements, I had concluded that the 38 spaces is adequate for the facility, and I'll step through why that is. First and foremost, the biggest parking usage is by employees. So 32 employees is on the maximum shift. that will mean 32 spaces would be occupied if all of those employees came to the site. So beyond that, what would the remaining parking spaces be for? Well, there's visitors. So visitors would occupy parking spaces. In consultation with the applicant, we understand that there are very strict visitation requirements that are set for these types of facilities and will be set for this facility. So visitation is scheduled, it is reviewed, and it's supervised. So visitation, parking spaces that are occupied by visitors will never be more than what would be available at the site. Furthermore, patients don't keep cars at the facility, so they're dropped off and they stay at the facility, but they will not keep vehicles at the facility. They won't drive at the facility, so no parking is needed for those patients. If patients do have to be transported, then the applicant will either operate their own vehicle to transport those patients or a third party. So there won't be vehicles needed to transfer patients from one facility to another, or for them to go home, or for them to come to the facility. We also reviewed the Americans with Disabilities Act. As you know, this is required. You're required to provide barrier-free access to care like this. And in consultation with the applicant, the imposition of parking that would be needed to meet this ordinance requirement. So in other words, if you had to construct the 16 parking spaces, it would create a barrier to access because of the associated delay and costs that would come with constructing those 16 extra parking spaces. So not only is there design and permitting, there's site work costs, there's all types of investigations that have to be done, and it could significantly postpone the opening of the facility, which would be a barrier to care for individuals coming to the facility. So we looked at all those things, and it was my conclusion that there was adequate parking for the site. We also looked at trip generation. Now, this isn't directly related to parking, but I wanted to get the full scope of what potential traffic could be as a result of this use. So we did an analysis, and based on our analysis, the number of trips that will increase by increasing the number of beds at the site, because essentially that's what it is. You're going from 46 beds to 65 beds. It's minimal and insignificant. So there will be only 3 additional trips in the weekday morning peak hour period. So essentially it's like 1 trip every 20 minutes extra to the site, if you want to think about it like that in the peak hour. There'll be less during all the other hours during the day. And in the afternoon or in the evening peak hour, there were 5 extra trips. So that would, to put it into context, would be 1 extra trip for every 12 minutes on the peak hour only, and less trips there after that. So there's no impact as a result of parking, as a result of trip generation. And so it was my conclusion that neither the parking that the parking provided would be adequate, and that the change in use and the traffic that results from that would not have an impact to this site or the surrounding road network.
Thank you. Our next witness will discuss the operational aspects of the proposed use, but from a civil engineering perspective and based on your experience and knowledge of the proposed use and the existing site, in your opinion, would the grant of the variances have an adverse effect on neighboring properties or the character of the neighborhood?
No.
I have no further questions of Mr. Elko.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is open up the board to ask some questions to Mr. Elko prior to moving on to Ms. Parks. I assume you're okay with that, Mr. Jonas?
Yes, sir.
All right, before we start, just want to make sure I make an announcement that our township solicitor, Maureen Carlton, is participating in this matter. Before I turn it over to the board, Mr. Jonas, would you be kind enough to repeat what you said near the end of your opening remarks? You were addressing the fact that the federal government recommends that this type of accommodation be made when possible. Can you just repeat that, and like which agency recommends that? And
Thank you. It's my debut here, so I've got to get used to the microphone. I apologize. What makes this case a little bit different, or a lot different than some other cases, is the implications of federal law, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and that is why we have requested what is referred to as a reasonable accommodation, and that is under two separate federal statutes. One is the Fair Housing Amendments Act, and the other is the Americans with Disabilities Act. Under those two acts, a governmental entity engages in a discriminatory practice if it refuses to make a reasonable accommodation, and I'm sure the zoning board solicitor will address and confer with you about this. And the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, defines an individual with a disability as anyone with a mental impairment, that substantially limits one or more major life activities. Based on our investigation in the township, we don't believe that this type of land use exists anywhere in Lower Makefield Township. So there's a need, we believe, for a reasonable accommodation under federal law. So you have a different situation here, Mr. Chairman, that you are considering not only legal arguments under land use, the municipality's planning code, and the Lower Makefield Township zoning ordinance, but you're considering the federal implications of providing a treatment facility for people with mental health care and needs.
So, would it be fair to say that often these type of projects do face discriminatory attitudes in different communities, and that's why those laws exist?
Mr. Chairman, it's a little bit outside my wheelhouse. I can tell you, as you can tell from my advanced age, that nowadays, when you go out at night, you find people are opposed to virtually almost anything. I have a matter that we are working on in another township for a transitional facility for people who need homes. They get help with medical care and vocational care, housing needs, and we are proposing that in an existing building in an enclosed institutional setting where there's already drug and alcohol rehabilitation going on. We have police protection at those hearings. I get a police escort to my parking space. At our last hearing, because of threats to my client, which is a well-established nonprofit, a detective sat next to them. So it's a long answer to your question that, unfortunately nowadays, and maybe it's filtering from the top, people tend to be opposed to lots of things, sometimes because they don't understand it. Sometimes it's because it's just maybe nothing more than a knee-jerk reaction. But in this case, the needs for mental health are recognized in your ordinance, in your nursing home definition, in your hospital definition. And so there is a need in Lower Makefield Township. We believe this property is suited for it. There's another interesting doctrine that I think under zoning law that the board should consider. The Commonwealth Court, with the Intermediate Appellate Court in Pennsylvania, in 2025, decided that there is such a thing as a de minimis use variance. Now, I will tell you that I've been practicing land use law a long time. That's not a concept I had heard before. I can also tell you it's up for review by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. But then I can also tell you, according to the Commonwealth Court, that there is such a thing as a de minimis use variance, and given what is already permitted in the zoning district where this property is located, which includes hospital and nursing home, and given that the definition of a community treatment rehabilitation facility also use that is permitted, and when I refer to permitted uses, I'm talking about uses by right, conditional use, or special exception, but permitted in this zoning district is the community treatment rehabilitation facility, and that includes persons in subparagraph A of the definition, section 200-7, have been duly convicted of any crime or have been adjudicated or judged delinquent, have or are rehabilitating from alcohol or substance abuse problems, or have committed or threatened any violent act against themselves or others. I'd suggest, Mr. Chairman, that what we are proposing is potentially far less objectionable.
I wasn't counting on round two of opening remarks.
So that's my response to your question. There are federal implications. There's also this doctrine of a de minimis use variance, and we're hoping that at the conclusion of this, notwithstanding the rigorous cross-examination
Thank you.
of the township solicitor, that the zoning board will look favorably on this application.
So, Board, the reason I brought that up is I want all of us to take care and choose our words respectfully, make sure we don't use inflammatory language, discriminatory language. We're here to render a decision based on not whether the patients of this facility, whether we understand their needs or possibly we have preconceived notions against them. That shouldn't be part of how we're looking at this. We should be asking questions about whether this makes sense in our community, not based on discriminatory decisions. So I'm just asking everybody to think through your questions appropriately so that, again, we give a balanced decision. Now, Board, please start asking questions for Mr. Elko.
All right, I have a question for you, sir. This is regarding the parking spaces, and I'm just wondering here, looking at this, that it doesn't look like, but I want your opinion on it, that if there were the additional 16 parking spaces added, that there'd be any need for a variance for parking, and there'd be no need for a variance to install the additional parking. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, the spaces aren't needed. They're not required. And, parking lots come with things like impervious coverage and removal of vegetation and trees and things like that. And I would also submit to you that the shape of the lot, as you can see here on the exhibit, there's no space to put parking that's near the building because all the spaces are occupied in and around the building. So the only place really to put parking would be back in that green field. And I would submit to you, it would be my opinion that that's sort of useless parking because no one would really park back there.
I just was wanting to establish that there was no, adding parking doesn't trigger any other need for variances because of the impervious limit, which I think is what you've indicated.
To my knowledge, that's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
My question is also with parking. Do you take into factor snow?
Yes.
So if you have the 32 employees coming in, then you have snow removal?
Yes.
You still have enough spots?
Yes. There's plenty of spaces along the perimeter of the parking driveways to put snow. Actually, when I walked around out there, I specifically noted that access to areas without parking are plentiful at this site. You can see the driveways are very long. You can see there's what I would call a hammerhead driveway in the front there. You can push snow out there. In the back, it's quite conducive to push snow around where there's no parking spaces. There's just lots of opportunities to just get rid of snow off of pavement for this site.
Good.
So I don't know if I missed it. We have an existing 38 spaces where if this use was granted, 54 would be required. And Mr. Elko, you're stating that 38 spaces would be adequate. Do you have data to support that?
It's in the parking analysis.
It's in the parking analysis?
Yes.
Can we go through that real quickly?
Sure. That I had testified to that, but I'm happy to walk through it again.
Yeah, that would be great. What tab is that?
So that would be tab 11, thank you. So if you go to the third page of that where it says parking, I could walk through this section. So the first paragraph essentially is saying the existing facility has 38 spaces and they're 10 by 20 feet. The next section talks about the ordinance calculation. So I selected a community treatment and rehabilitation facility use as the parking standard. And that parking standard requires 1 space for every 3 beds plus 1 space for every employee. And based on 65 beds and a maximum of 32 employees on the largest shift, the use would require 54 spaces. There's no exterior site improvements proposed, so we're requesting a variance from that ordinance section. The next paragraph, I outline, I reference back to the operational narrative, so that's on the previous 2 pages, but essentially it states that the maximum shift of 32 warrants 32 spaces, which leaves 6 additional spaces for visitors. But visitation is very strictly controlled and scheduled. And visitation is conducted in a limited and supervised process. Parking's not needed for patients because they won't have cars at the site. They don't leave them there while they're in the facility. And transportation is provided for patients whether they're coming into or out of the facility as well, so we don't need spaces for transport either. The last paragraph talks about the conformance with the ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, and imposing unreasonable requirements for parking could create a barrier to health care for these individuals. And so it would be my opinion, considering all of that, that there are adequate number of parking spaces at the facility.
Well, that's where I was going to. Isn't it fair to say that your opinion isn't quantifiable? I don't think you quantified it. I'm not trying to argue with it, but it says the maximum shift of 32 staff warrants a maximum of 32 parking spaces, which leaves 6 additional parking spaces for visitors, which is sufficient given the strict visitation restrictions for the facility and visitation being conducted in a limited, scheduled, and supervised process. There's nothing quantifiable on that. I mean, I know as an engineer, aren't you used to quantifying data?
Well, I would say that Banyan will never need more than 6 parking spaces for visitors.
So you're asserting that, or you know that?
I am asserting that, and I know that from talking with the client.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to repeat that if the board takes a look at Section 200-79 of the Township zoning ordinance, which has standards for off-street parking according to use, and you go through that entire section, which lists a whole variety of residential and non-residential land uses, it lacks a catch-all provision for a legitimate land use that's not identified. If you look at 200-79A2, there is a catch-all provision for residential uses that are not specifically identified. But in our case, we had this unique situation of...
Why do you think that is? Because it's not a conditional use, right?
No, because I think this township ordinance simply does not allow for this legitimate and existing land use.
Yeah, that's my point.
And they missed providing for it as a land use by right, conditional use, or special exception, and they missed providing
And that's
for
my point.
standards for parking.
Because it's not in our ordinance, obviously, we're not going to have a carve-out for what the allowable parking should be. Because again, it's not in our ordinance. That's something that our supervisors could take up down the road. But, I mean, I don't want to have our code, have it assumed that our code has a gap in it, because it doesn't have a gap in it, correct? If this was an allowable land use in this ordinance, then, or even in, you're maintaining this as not allowable land use in our township, is that correct?
I'm saying there's a possibility that if you go from the beginning to the end, you will not find this land use provided for in the township, and that would create another issue. We're not here on a substantive validity challenge.
I understand.
But a further in-depth review. Should the board deny the use variance or deny the reasonable accommodation, I think this is a case that might be to be made, that this ordinance is deficient for not providing for the use. But with regard to the narrow question of the parking standards, there is no parking standard for this use, and therefore we may not need any variance at all for parking. That's a legal question that your solicitor will have to advise you on.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas. Ms. Carlton, would you like to jump in?
I would. Thank you very much. I know the assertion that there is enough parking. But it seems to me that with 38 parking spaces that are allotted for 32 employees at your peak, leaves only 6 by simple math. What about, and you've also attested to the fact or stated that visitors are strictly regulated, strictly scheduled, et cetera, and there will never be more than 6 visitors at any given time? That's visitors. How about increased staff if staffing changes should occur by law in the future? And I'll just throw out all my questions at once, and maybe you can answer them. What about outside providers? I know that facilities such as this often have occupational therapists, for example, physical therapists, for example, just outside providers that do come in. And I don't want to say infrequently. They actually come very frequently, many times on a daily basis. An outside therapist for one of the patients. What about deliveries to the facility? If you're talking about a 65-bed use for this facility, whereas there were 46 beds in the previously permitted, that's an increased delivery burden on the parking spaces. And again, just to get everything out there and loop things together, I'm not an expert on the ADA or the Fair Housing and Amendments Act, but I do question whether or not this really falls under purview of that, given the fact that this is a commercial endeavor. This is not a residential, strictly a residential use. And I think that discrimination under the Fair Housing Act really is targeted for landlords and landlords discriminating against renting or leasing to those with disabilities, et cetera. And I don't know if it really is applicable to the commercial endeavor that you're proposing. So those are my statements, but if you could answer those questions regarding, specifically with reference to parking, I think that is it's just really a concern of the township.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the questions. I think I can answer them mostly or partially, and I may have to rely upon the next witness to answer the rest. So with regard to deliveries, I can say that deliveries tend to be temporary in nature. There is this circular driveway in the front that deliveries can be made, and there's also an area in the back. I hesitate to call it a loading area because it's really not what you would think a traditional loading area would be, where a truck backs up to the building, but there is a lot of space back there for a truck to stop, unload temporarily, and then move off. I don't think deliveries need to occupy parking spaces at all for this facility. They would not be more than, a temporary in nature, and they would come and go. And there's ample room to move off to the side if they have to wait for more than a couple of minutes. But I don't think deliveries would need to occupy parking spaces. I'm going to rely upon Ms. Parks to address the staffing changes and the outside therapists and providers. And I think maybe the last question, too, about the Fair Housing Act. That's outside of my area of expertise.
Sorry. What about mechanical maintenance, HVAC, landscapers? Any facility you go to, there's 4 trucks at all times doing something. So that's 4 of your spots that are just constantly tied up.
Yeah, again, from a maintenance standpoint, my experience is that those types of facilities come and go. They're there for maybe an hour or two. I don't see them parking in a parking spot. They tend to drop off the lawnmowers and do what they have to do and come back and get them. And Ms. Parks can speak better to those types of maintenance activities for sure.
Thanks, Mr. Elko. Mr. Majewski, Mr. Elko just mentioned there's a circular driveway in front of the facility they could potentially park temporarily. Are you aware if that's a fire lane or possibly a no parking zone in the current facility?
I believe that the fire services would prefer to have that circle kept clear of vehicles just for that purpose. I'm not sure if it's designated as a fire lane, though.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any additional questions for Mr. Elko?
Yes, I do. Real brief, just for public ears and whoever's listening at home, watching, whatever it might be. Basically, there is no changes to the building footprint, no changes to parking configuration, curb lines, entrances, exits, exterior lighting, nothing, correct?
That is correct. The only change we are proposing is to replace the 2 handicap signs in the front.
Correct.
Currently.
So there's really no process where this has to go through our planning commission, correct?
I believe that's correct.
How about any approval of our board of supervisors? Once you leave here, are you done? Do they need to go through the board of supervisors for any reason?
At this point, as presented, they would not.
Okay, so.
Strictly a zoning.
So our decision is going to be final here, whatever we agree upon. I want to make
Final.
that clear to everybody.
Final unless appealed by
Correct,
a
okay.
party. Correct.
Okay, that was it.
Mr. Schwartz, may I just respond? Early on, when we were first looking to apply, we investigated with township staff whether a conditional use would be required by the Board of Supervisors, and the township staff directed us.
There you go, thanks.
Directed us to apply to the zoning hearing board. But we did investigate the conditional use, but that would have required an opinion by the township staff that the use is permitted by conditional use in the zoning district. But the decision was we did not need a conditional use, so it's one and done here. You're absolutely correct.
Excuse me real quickly. I see the lights on. Is that light on for public comment?
Yes, we have 3 people on.
We're going to push the public comment to follow Ms. Park's testimony, the board's questions, and then at that point, we'll invite public comment. Additional questions for Mr. Elko?
Mr. Chair, if I may. Mr. Elko, one question that gives me some pause. In your memo, the second to last paragraph that states, constructing additional parking would trigger costly engineering and permitting delays that could significantly postpone or prevent this facility from opening. Is that really something that should be a concern to the zoning hearing board at this time, that you would have to, or your client would have to absorb additional costs and delays for something like this if it's so required? It just seems an odd statement to make for a zoning hearing board.
So I think I'd like to let Ms. Parks answer that question specifically, but the reason why we had put it in our analysis was that I understood that the facility can more quickly open without those types of improvements, since I had concluded that we don't need any additional parking. So, as you know, design, permitting, construction takes a lot of time, costs a lot of money, and especially if we don't need the extra parking. So that's where I came from with regard to that comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. I thought that was an excellent question.
Let me follow up with that real quick. Are you of the belief then that this facility is move-in ready to use right away? There's no interior changes needed to be made to increase the bed spaces?
I'm going to have to let Ms. Parks answer that question. Yeah.
All right. We can always come back to Mr. Elko, shine a bright light on him, but why don't we invite Ms. Parks to answer some questions for Mr. Jonas, and then also give us tell us what she thinks in regard to this matter. Ms. Parks, Mr. Jonas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please state your name.
Michelle Parks. I'm getting real close, people, so if I'm too loud, tell me to back off. I'm doing the opposite.
And what is your business or profession?
I am the Vice President of Operations for Banyan Treatment Centers.
I'm going to direct your attention to Exhibit 12. Is that your bio? Do you have the booklet with you?
Yep.
Would you just
Sure.
take the highlights of your background and experience as it relates to the proposed facility we're discussing tonight?
Absolutely. I am a licensed clinical social worker by trade. I also have a master's in business administration with a concentration in healthcare management. I have worked in the behavioral health field my entire career and the healthcare field my entire career, working with behavioral health and addiction for most of my career.
And can you tell us something about the applicant and its related entity, Banyan?
Yeah, Banyan is a leading provider in the behavioral health space. We serve individuals nationwide that are facing mental health and addiction challenges. We provide a full continuum of care from medical detoxification all the way to outpatient services to wrap that support and resources for these clients to have a healthy recovery path.
Is the proposed use unique with regard to Banyan, or does Banyan or other providers have similar facilities in Pennsylvania or beyond?
Yeah, what we have found is that we haven't found another facility that's providing this level of care in this township and in this area. There are some gaps in the levels of care provided in Pennsylvania. And when we looked back at even the community health needs assessment in '22, because they do those every few years, the top priority in that, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. The top priority was mental health for this area in this township, was their number one priority in need. Separate from addiction, wrapped up in that. When we looked at some of the other numbers that are just in Buck County, there was a very large number of hospitalizations due to mental health and substance use crisis within Buck County in this last year period. I believe when I looked at the data, it was over 1,600 acute hospitalizations just from your county area for this purpose. So we do know that this is a need that's prevalent in this area and a service that we can provide for these clients.
Tell us about the service that you would provide here.
Yeah, this facility would be an inpatient residential and rehabilitation facility. So we have a very structured program that includes medical detoxification, clinical stabilization, and then some wraparound resources so clients are prepared to go to that next level of care. So we want to make sure that we have a very long continuum of care for clients that are facing these mental health crises so that they're successful in the community when they discharge.
Now, you've heard references tonight to some federal statutes, including the Americans with Disabilities Act. What relationship or what requirements do you have under that act for this proposed land use?
Yeah, so the clients that we are proposing to see in this facility do fit both the ADA and the FHA Act because they're actively seeking treatment for their disability. Mental health and substance use are defined as disabilities by both of those federal standards, and that is the care that we provide.
What can you tell us about the age of the people you would serve and help?
Yeah, we're going to serve adult individuals, so 18 years and older at this facility, males and females.
Can you describe the inpatient mental health treatment component of what is proposed here?
Yeah. This level of treatment that we're proposing is a residential level of treatment, which provides a little bit more comprehensive care and integrative services for clients that are with our care. So some of our differentiators that you might see from a community center, treatment center, which is an allocated use for this time now, is that we have 24/7 medical staff on site. And so with that, it's not just a housing focus, it's more of a focus on their medical and their clinical needs while they're in our care. So we have medical and clinical professionals, including nurses and therapists and psychiatric staff, on site 24 hours a day at this place. The level of care is also a little bit different than what you would see in a community housing environment. It is a high-level acute care. So if you're looking at the ASAM, it's a 3.7 level residential care or a Locus 5 for the mental health area. And that includes more structured programming, more intensive sessions, more medical monitoring and medication management. So those are a little bit of differences, just so you kind of can see what the services are that we're providing. Aside from that is our licensure, because we will be licensed in the state by DDAP, which is the Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs, and also the Department of Human Services and Offices of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. So we are a treatment provider, not focused just for housing for these clients. And the purpose really of our treatment is an intensive short-term treatment and stabilization.
Is the inpatient aspect necessary for the reasonable care of the people you would serve?
Yeah, so if you look at best practice and any research standards, it is confirmed that you must treat SUD and mental health conditions concurrently. And for most of our patients, this 24/7 stability that we provide in this residential level of care is the only setting where they can be safely treated.
Is the existing building suitable for the proposed facility?
Yes, the building is suitable for our
And,
use.
And to respond to one of the questions, what changes, if any, do you have to make in the interior?
We'll probably paint, fresh coat of paint, that when we do in there, we might change the showers as they're a little bit outdated that are in there, but it's very minimal that we have to change inside.
And based on your experience, are the requested variances or the reasonable accommodation necessary to provide disabled persons with meaningful access to inpatient rehabilitation services in Lower Makefield Township?
Yes, we believe that this level of care that we're providing, that is a gap in services in your community, from doing our research on what's available now, is needed to be able to serve these disabled patients.
Let's talk about some of the operational aspects that Mr. Elko touched on. What would the peak number of patients be?
Peak number of patients, our maximum would be 65 patients.
And Mr. Elko mentioned 32 as the maximum number of staff. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That would be on a peak, meaning everybody would be, on board on that time. So often it's less than that on a typical day.
And anticipating or responding to the question that was posed, is there a possibility that you would need to expand the peak number of staff for this facility of 65 patients?
Not currently with the regulations that are in place, because we do our staffing grids based on the state requirement for our license and any accreditation that we have.
Staff are present 24/7?
Correct.
What are the other hours of operation that would pertain?
We are functional 24/7 all the time. So there are staff present at all times on site. We do not just, I think for Ms. Carlton, just to kind of answer one of the questions that she had, we do not have outside providers come on site. We have all of our staff on site and in our license, and that's counted in that 32. So any therapist are all ours. So that's already accounted for in that 32. And then in related, and I apologize, I'm not sure who asked, it was about maintenance. Those are also our own staff, and they're included in that count of 32 that does provide that maintenance service for this property.
Tell us about security for the facility.
Yeah. We have many layers of security. I know that sometimes can be a concern with the population that we're working with. First off, let's talk about the staffing. So our facility is staffed in accordance with the state and accreditation standards, first, to ensure safety for our clients and for our staff. We have medical and clinical accountability rounds performed at intervals throughout the day and at night to ensure that our clients are safe and present, and to mitigate any potential elopement risks, right? Separately, employees receive training on security and expectations that we have for security upon hire and annually, every year after that as well. Now, talking about security monitoring, we have security cameras installed at all primary access points, any common area, and in strategic locations around the outside of the building as well. Camera feeds are viewable in the nurses station, our behavioral health technician offices, and all department head offices. So activities can be seen live time and reviewed at that moment. We also have a recording feature, so we do post-review and to double check and see if we're monitoring everything after the fact as well. We have the camera monitoring integrated into our general safety oversight for the facility. Authorized personnel may also review that footage after the fact if need be. Recorded footage is retained and reviewed according to facility policy and applicable regulations, and have access limited to authorized personnel only. External security. Now, we've talked about internal. We've talked a little bit about where we have camera placement on campus. External security. We have all of our access points to get into the facility locked and secured. We have closely monitoring of staff of those points, and that is part of our regular perimeter check by our staff. We also have individual patient rounds that are conducted at intervals throughout the day and the evening to ensure that our clients are always safe on property, and any unauthorized visitors are not permitted onto the property as well.
Or the residents, do they have outdoor areas where they have access?
Yeah, at this property, it's actually a blessing. The external areas are attached to the facility. So we have internal patios, and we have internal outside spaces that are connected. So our residents will do all of their activities outside, but connected to the facility within the perimeter of the building.
Or are residents permitted to leave the property?
Residents are not permitted to leave freely. They are brought to campus by a predetermined admission. How our intake and admission process works is the intakes are processed through our corporate intake facility. We have designated facility vans that bring them to site, which Greg had mentioned that we don't need parking spots because it's a moving piece for us, so they drop them off and leave. At discharge, we ensure that we have proper discharge, and we also take patients at discharge as well in transport vehicles. And if the patients were to leave property for an outing or for an appointment, they would leave with our staff in our facility vehicle.
You heard a number of questions from the zoning board about parking. Let's address parking, the adequacy of the parking that's on site without adding parking and eliminating any of the green areas.
Yeah, our patients are not allowed to have cars on site, so we don't need any parking at all for patients. Visitation is strictly monitored and only approved through the clinical channel, so we limit when patients' families come on site and how many come on site at a time. With the permitted parking that we have, we don't have concern that we don't have enough parking spaces for people on this site.
Is visitation controlled or limited, and if so, how?
Yes, it is controlled. That is controlled through the clinical team, through the clinical director, and through their primary therapist. And so those are assigned and reviewed, and in accordance with what we have availability and space for.
Based on the testimony of Mr. Elko and what you've now discussed, particularly in terms of the operational aspects and security, what would the impact be, if any, on abutting properties and the character of the neighborhood by utilizing this existing building?
Yeah, we feel that we'll have limited impact on the neighbors since our property is self-contained and our clients remain on property during the duration of their treatment stay.
I have no more questions of the witness. We move for the admission of our exhibits into the record.
So moved. All right, board. How about we open up questions to Ms. Parks? Mr. Elko, if stuff wanders into your territory, jump in, please.
I'll push it over.
Yeah, we can also go back to Mr. Elko as well.
Excuse me for interrupting, but the letter that you sent to the residents of that area indicated we would have a chance to voice our feelings about the matter.
I announced that earlier. You're going to be called up for public comment after we We are going to call up public comment after we finish with our questions. That's standard operating procedure. We actually may illuminate something that will save someone in the audience from having to ask a question if it's answered. All right, board.
I have a question that pertains to safety and security around the facility that the neighbors may want to know. The residents that you'll have there, temporary residents, are they there voluntarily, or are there some court order that may not want to be there?
They are voluntary.
All voluntary? Okay.
So,
So you're, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So you're all outpatient, 100% outpatient?
We're not outpatient, we're resident.
I'm sorry, inpatient.
Yes, yeah. We're residential level of care, yes.
So we got a lot of this uploaded to us this afternoon. I did some quick search, didn't spend a lot of time on it. Banyan has other facilities.
Yes,
And I didn't know this, there's actually one over by the Oxford Valley Mall.
there is.
That one appears to be outpatient, is that
It
correct?
is.
Okay.
Yes. We actually have two facilities in Pennsylvania. One is the one you mentioned in Langhorne. It is an outpatient facility.
Okay.
I think we opened that in about 2018 or 19. The other one we have is in Laurel Run. It's about 2 hours from here. It is very similar in nature to this facility that we want to bring to Yardley. It is also residential for mental health and co-occurring disorder clients there. And so those are our two facilities. That one, we've been in one location since 2018, the other since 2019.
Okay. And then lastly, pertaining to the parking spaces, have you considered reducing the number of beds that you're requesting to have?
We have not had that discussion of reduction of beds because we do feel that this is probably a need. We have an outpatient facility that's here already, so we do know the volume and the number of requests that are needed in this community, and we think that's the number of beds that we need to meet that need. I'll just since you gave me a little bit of an opening there, a little bit for Pennsylvania, our two programs that we have in Pennsylvania, just to share some information that might be pertinent, especially if you're not from the world of mental health or behavioral health. Both of our programs that we've had here since 2018 and 2019 have satisfaction scores of 90% or greater. And this is from clients and residents that have been with us and or partners that have worked with us in the community. We have a very, very low readmission rate, meaning that it's very much lower than the national standard, that once our clients receive treatment from us, it's unlikely, very unlikely that they readmit for that same issue again. I've had very successful in both of our Pennsylvania locations that we're already currently working in now. And we have very, very strong presence in providing for the communities. Banyan is very, very, very much drawn to provide service for those in need. Okay, that is what we do. That is our mission. And we have already served for Pennsylvania over 11,500 clients and residents in your surrounding area and in the Laurel Run area and in the state of Pennsylvania since we've already been part of your community, just not in the Yardley community, which is where we would like to put this facility. So we've had a pretty large, we usually see over 1,000 residents a year in each of our facilities that we have currently in place.
One last question.
Sure.
And it's probably an easy answer for you, I don't know. A lot of facilities in our area, whether it's a nursing home, assisted living, or whatever, have community rooms, and they sometimes, to be part of the community, allow private organizations to use those as meeting spaces. I, for one, am a member of a Lions Club, and when we started, we were using the community room at Sunrise Assisted Living. And those nights that we had meetings, we had cars all over the place because they didn't have enough parking. So my question is, do you have a plan of a community space in your room, in your building, and do you have any guidelines already in place in your organization for use or non-use of that space for outside organizations?
Yeah, we do not have a community space for outside organizations, and I'll preface a little bit why. Due to the sensitivity of the nature of the clients that we're serving, we have to be very careful to not violate HIPAA privacy with our patients on site, and so we have very tight, which is why our security is very tight, okay? I talked about that at length a little bit earlier. We want privacy for our clients that are in our treatment, and so we don't allow outside organizations to come on site for that purpose, to provide that security for our clients.
Okay. In general, I just want to point out that most of what you're asking for the existing nonconformities and everything else, you can see you're not getting asked many questions from the board here because it's already been, for the most part, accepted, although maybe somebody else has a different opinion here. The issue is the parking, simply because that is the one thing that is variable dependent on the use of the building. I mean, you're saying 6 spaces is adequate for visitors, so less than 10% of your patients would have visitors at any time. It would have to be
And that
less
actually
than
is pretty
10%.
accurate. And I know that sounds disheartening, but unfortunately, many of our residents don't have family that will come and visit. So our experience has been, and we've been in this field for a very long time and have facilities, 16 facilities all over the country, that we do think that's going to be adequate based on the number of visitors that we typically see for clients.
And the other aspect of why this parking is such a huge issue is again, the existing property. You have no street parking on the adjacent streets. You have no connection to the existing parking lots that are associated with the commercial space adjacent. So you have to be self-sufficient. So that's why there's a lot of concern about the level of parking here. And I'm
I
going to
understand.
pass it on.
Yeah, I understand.
Ms. Parks, I have a lot of questions.
Okay. Hopefully I have a lot of answers for you. We'll see.
So, just bear with me while I order them in a manner that seems to make sense. So, at present, in this facility, how many resident rooms exist? We have 48 residents, and we're going to be going to 65. So I'm just trying to figure out what this looks like.
Yes, okay. I thought he was pausing. We have some rooms that have 2 patients per room. We have a couple of rooms that have 3 patients. We have some rooms we can make 1 patient. So we have a varying configuration based on the need for the client. If we have a client that needs to be in a private room, we can do so.
Would I be correct in assuming there's federal guidelines that
Yes, for
tell you-
space.
Yeah, for
Yes.
space, what you can and can't have. and
Correct.
You'll be able to adhere to the regs.
Absolutely. That's how we build our design, our plan from the beginning is from the regulations.
So earlier, you were explaining that you use vans to transport people and come and going, and it's a rotation. They're not parking.
Correct.
Are these vans owned by?
By us, correct.
Where are they when they're off? When people aren't? When you're not actually physically moving people, where do those vans?
That's a good question.
stay?
So typically they're never sitting anywhere because we have multiple facilities and they're moving to admit to some facility, even if it's not this one at Yardley. It could be the one in Laurel Run. It could be the one in Langhorne. We also have some additional parking in some of our other sites. So if for some reason they needed to put a van down, meaning needing a space, they would use our Langhorne site, which has ample parking on site already. Typically, they do not sit because they are transporting on admissions, not just for this facility, but for other facilities as well. And they do admissions and discharges at all facilities.
All right. Regarding the actual patients, the residents of the facility, Christian asked a question if they voluntarily entered, if some were court ordered. And you said primarily voluntarily. Do they have the ability to just sign themselves out if they want to leave?
Yes, they can.
Do they have the ability to sign themselves out, walk out the front door, and just walk down the driveway and walk down the street?
It is an option. We would not physically restrain them.
Okay. And you made a comment earlier regarding that your 32-person staff includes basically everybody. It's a self-contained facility, correct?
Correct.
So for 65-bed facility like this, can you give me a breakdown of what that looks like? How many how many of those 32 are kitchen people? Well, when we're talking about at capacity, so we're talking about you're at capacity, you have 32 people on property. How many are kitchen? How many are doctors? How many are nurses? How many are therapists? How many are social workers? How many are housekeepers? Are you able to give us a breakdown of that?
I can give you a generality. So we base our staffing regulations based on what the regulation is for the state. So for our nurses, it would be 1 to 15 or 1 to 16 roughly. So you can do the math from that. For the providers, it depends on the day, on how many clients that they're going to be seeing for that day. So that will vary. It could be 1 provider, it could be 2 providers on a day, depends on what their schedule is. For BHTs, we typically run about a 1 to 16 on our ratio on the day shift and around 1 to 20 on the evening shift.
I'm sorry, you used jargon that I'm unfamiliar with.
I apologize.
Behavioral help there, sorry. I am in your world, I have a lot of questions, so.
Okay, you do, okay, okay,
Can
good.
you,
I'll try
can
to
you
answer
repeat
the best.
the job that does 1 in 16?
Behavioral health technicians. So those are the psychiatric staff that are with the patients doing the rounding, daily care. They do groups, some psychoeducational groups, plethora of duties.
Okay, so would it be fair to say at full capacity, when you're at your 32 employees on site, that you might be at that one for every 16? So, okay. And then
For that site, there'll be 1 maintenance person probably on a shift. Kitchen people, you might have 3 people on a shift. I mean, I didn't come prepared to break it. I can give it to you because we have it in a grid.
I mean, yes.
You need me to? This
well-
is how we came to this is how we got to
Yeah.
32, because
Yeah.
that was everybody that might be there on the highest possible day. When you do staffing in healthcare, and this is probably way more than you care to know about, there are some days when you have heavier groups because they work, if they work 12-hour shifts, they're going to work 3 days during the week, and then you have to have,
Well, yeah, really where I'm going with this is, earlier you said that it is self-contained and everybody's included. I honestly find it hard to believe that you got an electrician sitting on site, that you have a plumber sitting on site, that you have an HVAC mechanic sitting on site.
Okay, let me be clear. We have a maintenance person on site that will do as much as they can for plumbing and electrical, and if it's beyond their scope, we will call provider on site for that. Is that
Okay.
helpful?
Yeah, that is helpful,
Okay.
because I think how it was worded earlier might have been a little misleading, unintentionally,
Okay, yeah,
but a little
sure.
misleading.
Sure.
And you're telling me you have 1 landscaper for this whole property at,
We have an outsourced landscaping crew that will come.
Okay, so you do have an outsourced landscaping?
Yes.
Because earlier I believe that you might have said that that was part of your self-containment, right,
Well-
Mike? Didn't you mention landscaping and?
Yes.
That they drop the equipment off. I've never seen anybody, they pull
I've
into the
never seen
trailer.
that either.
Yeah, they take up 4 spots and, then they cut the grass. I mean, they're there for an hour, but they take up 4 spots.
Just one thing I remembered after I talked about that before, there is a curb cut in the back to access the green area, and the landscapers can go right up onto the green area and park there and do what they need to do and leave. So I remember that from the site walk in the back.
Yeah, probably not, though, after a heavy rain when their equipment would sink into the grass. Probably not. Yes? No? Probably not?
Maybe,
It's all right, Greg.
maybe. I get my lawn cut the morning it rains, and they're fine.
So I guess my last question, Ms. Parks, is how many in-care facilities does Banyan have across the country?
We have 16.
16. And in any, not including this one, correct?
Correct.
In any of those 16 facilities, do you have similar constrained parking?
Yes.
Which facilities would they be? Could you identify them, please?
Banyan Boca.
I'm sorry?
Banyan Boca, it's in
Banyan
Florida.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot. I mean, we have a lot of sites that have limited parking, but none of our clients ever bring their cars there. So there are several.
There's several?
You want all of them?
Yeah, I'd like you, if you just, there's several, if you could list them, that would be helpful.
Sure. Banyan Sebring.
Where's that one? Banyan,
It's in Florida.
and what was it?
Sebring, Banyan Sebring. Banyan, Delaware. Not
That one's
too far.
self-explanatory.
Yeah, I know that one. Banyan Palm Springs in California. Those are a few. I can give you some.
Nah, that's good.
Okay.
And that one's in California?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
At this point,
I got a couple questions.
I don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
I have some more questions.
Sure.
So you had said that this was a facility similar to your other Pennsylvania facility in Wilkes-Barre area?
Yes.
The facility there actually says on your website that there are both inpatient and outpatient programs.
They have both services there. So we are not going to have outpatient at Yardley, but the inpatient portion is similar in nature to what we're want to bring to Yardley.
Very well. Also, I think you had said that all your patients are transported to the facility from another location. Is that like a Langhorne, where
So our
everybody comes in,
clients
or-
come multiple ways. Some come from another facility. Some are picked up from home. Some are picked up wherever they are at that time. So they come to us from many different places. Some come from a hospital. So there are many ways and places that clients come to us from, but we pick them up and bring them on site. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to back up a little bit. It was asked earlier before your testimony about what it would take to add the parking spaces, and they said that they would let you kind of explain what hardship that creates.
Oh, sure. So I believe what Greg was mentioning is if we were to add parking spaces, we would have to get drawings created, because he mentioned it's a triangular shape, right, the spaces. We're going to have to put it in that grass spot, because that's the only place on that property really that we can put that. So that will require drawings, it will require permits, it will require extended period of time. I think that's what he was referencing. I hear what you're saying, Ms. Carlton, that maybe that's not for the zoning board, but it's just inclusive in our plan of the additional steps. Yes.
So I have another question, but this might be more for Jim. Jim, I noticed that some of the setbacks are not met. Any idea what that situation occurred?
As Mr. Jonas had said during his presentation, when they initially built the facility, they built it and got variances for those setbacks. So this is an existing nonconformity.
That was 1995.
Thank you.
Very well, thank you.
Ms. Parks, in this very well done exhibit, the word strict visitation restrictions for the facility exist. Quote, the exact quote, strict visitation restrictions for the facility. Can you just define that? I really don't know what that means.
Yeah, sure. What that means is we don't have open visitation, meaning that every Wednesday from 5 to 10, anyone can come for visitation. Strict visitation means that it is decided by the treatment team and by that clinical professional that this is necessary and part of the treatment and will be considered part of that treatment for that visitation with that family member. Then the persons that are able to come visit are approved, and then the time is approved of when they're going to come for visitation. That's what that means.
Thank you. Ms. Carlton, anybody else on the board?
I'm actually going to jump in before I let Maureen speak. And I think it's a little bit out of the purview per se of the board, but I get to do that. And also for people to understand at home. Can you just tell us what state entities you will be regulated by?
Yes, we are regulated, and I want to make sure I name it right, is DDAP. Okay, so it's the Department, I always miss a letter, Department of Drug and Alcohol, and then also by OMSAS, which is the Office of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
And have either of those entities already looked at your proposal to confirm that it could house 65 inpatients?
We are not that far in the process yet. However, we follow the same regulations that we do for any of our sites. And part of that process is knowing the square footage requirement per patient per room. And yes, we are abiding by all of those regulations with that number. And that is how we generate the number of clients that we can serve.
It just like, again, I'm adjacent to your field.
Yeah.
And I'm startled, when I think about the facility that was there. And I've been at the facility housing 46 adults. And now you'll have 65 adults where, it's going to come out terribly, your population will be more active. And there's not as much open rooms for them, community rooms per se.
Actually, what we have planned, and actually, we actually feel pretty blessed with this site, to be very transparent, is we have a very large courtyard in the middle. There are enclosed patios that are on different sides of the pods that are all activity rooms that are generated for activities outside of the clinical space. So we feel that, I don't know if you can't see them really on that, we feel that there's plenty of adequate space in there for clients for extracurricular activities, because that is part of our wellness plan for clients when they're with us. And with OMSOS, which is, the one that we are really regulated by, they do not have hardly any regulations for room size. We go ahead and abide by the stricter size, which would be DDAP.
And then when, as residents successfully transition through the different stages of the program, might those vans, like take them to a gym or take them to community outings?
Yes.
Like how does the transition, thank you.
Yes, so part of our curriculum and part of our program is extracurricular activities and community outings. So we do have those as planned activities weekly, typically for all of our clients, and our staff go with the clients on those activities. So yes, the gym is one. We go to movies. They do bowling. We do a lot of different activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Your turn, Maureen.
Thank you. Maybe a simplistic question or too generalized, but what is your typical patient like? I know the description that accompanied the application your patient is an adult, and you did testify over 18, male and female, substance use and co-occurring mental health conditions?
So for this facility, the clients that would be coming into program would have a primary diagnosis or a primary mental health diagnosis. Now, what we do understand if you work in the behavioral health field is rarely do you see one without another, which is where that co-occurring disorder come in. So where they might have a primary mental health challenge or diagnosis of anxiety, depression, a trauma that has occurred. They may also have some substance use issues that are in tandem with that. So I would say our typical patient that we would treat would be a patient that would have anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, general depressive disorder, could be an acute set of psychosis, and have some use history right in there. So we are treating both issues at the same time. If you really look at good clinical practice and good research, it says the only successful treatment is a treatment that looks at both at once. You can't treat just the mental health component and forget about the other piece. You can't just treat a substance problem and not address the anxiety, depression, or trauma that may have led that person to that use.
Thank you.
That helpful?
It does, but are some of your patients one or the other? Can some just have
some can be just some can be just primary mental health and no substance use. Yes, so we could have a patient that has generalized depression, and that's it. But often we see both in a lot of patients, and it could be in varying degrees. It might be very tiny substance use. It might be no substance use at all and just be mental health. Yes.
And how long is your typical patient with you?
Depends on, every plan's individualized for the client. Usually our typical length of stay is between 18 and 21 days.
And you said that, I believe that your testimony was that, and I believe this to be true, that you can't keep the patients there without their consent. So if a patient decides that they've had enough on day 3 and they want to sign themselves out, they have the ability to do so.
They do.
They do. And I think you also testified that many, because of this whole parking issue, that there aren't that many visitors, you stated many don't have either family relationships or family that come. So a patient can really sign themselves out, they have no car there, so they are then just, you don't have any control when they walk through your doors.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily, so let me just explain a little bit about that process. You're accurate in saying that we would not physically prevent someone from walking out the door. However, we have a very lengthy process in what we do in our clinical program because, believe it or not, you can tell when people aren't happy, and where they're at, right? So we have a very integral clinical program in place to intervene early to prevent that from occurring. So we have a multi-step process that is encouraged by all of those people, Mr. Daugherty, that you had mentioned, that are on our site at all these different levels, are intervening with these clients in order to prevent that. So just to give you a little number, even just from Pennsylvania, if I look at just our sites we have in Pennsylvania, what you're talking about is leaving against medical advice is what they call it in the jargon, than our jargon. Our AMA rate is what that is considered is very low in Pennsylvania compared to the national average. It's under 9%. So it's a very small percentage of our patients that just say, I'm leaving. Now, even when they say just I'm leaving, doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to provide them help to get somewhere, right? So you're talking a very, very small number of patients that might walk out the door and walk down the street, which is, I know where you're going with that. We could not physically stop someone from doing that, but we have a very lengthy process in place to prevent us from getting that far down the path.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Part of the questioning is related to really security, and which is one of the first things that you spoke about. Based on the 16 facilities that you have across the country, I'm sure you have empirical data, et cetera, that what is the rate, how many patients leave either unattended, unauthorized, and really are just wandering in the general population? The reason for the questioning is, have you had to call, how often do you have to involve either EMS or local police to assist in, I hate to use the word retrieving, but to speak with the patients and try to bring them back? But how often are the local police and the local EMS sort of engaged by you?
Yes, I don't have the exact numbers of those numbers. Even I didn't drill that down into Pennsylvania. I could find that for you, though. That is tied to that AMA rate. So when we're tracking, and we do track this for any location that we have, how many people are leaving against our advice. And in that number would be the ones that you're mentioning, how many walk off and are wandering around. I don't have that number. It's very, very small. We have to call the police very few number of times. It does occur. It's going to occur when you're dealing with clients that have mental health issues. It occurs, but it's a very small number.
And how about EMS services to the facility for things, I know that you have staff 24/7, but for things that are really out of the purview or out of the capability of your staff?
If it's a medical emergency that someone is having that is something that we can't contain, we would call EMS for that. If it's a medical emergency, something with the chest and a heart issue, something like that. If someone is in danger of harming themselves and they need to be at a higher level of care, we would call for that purpose. Often that doesn't happen. Part of our process for the admission process, and we have a corporate call center that does this, is to really identify and make sure that we're placing the client in the right place at the right level of care. So you've heard me talk a little bit about that today, about level of care, and a lot of stuff you guys don't care about with, inpatient, outpatient, all these different levels. But that is something that we start with at the very beginning when a client says they want to come to Banyan, is what are their needs, where are they going to fit the best so that we have the most success rate for the client.
Okay, thank you. And one last question that I hope wraps up. So I know that you stated earlier that based on the perceived, and I mean that in a very sincere way, perceived need in this area, 65 beds is optimum and is needed in this area. Obviously, the 65 beds requires the additional staff, which requires going back to parking. Would there ever be a consideration to reduce the number of beds? I mean, we really are jumping from a 46-bed facility to a 65-bed facility. And I know you said you can put people in singles, doubles, and triples. Would there ever be any consideration just to reduce the number of beds, which would reduce everything else that really is being requested this evening?
That is not an area that we want to move from, because we do feel that when we did our initial research and looking at the needs that are in this area and the gaps of services that are in this township, and particularly in this area, that we will need that to be able to serve the clients that are here. When we look a little bit deeper at some of those gaps in services, it's not just that we don't have another facility similar to this, because I didn't find one. There's one close in Morrisville, but it is only residential for males, so no female beds anywhere around here at all. Then you have a higher level of care, which is a hospital, but they say they're also not a detox unit, so you can't have anyone that needs to detox there. And so there's significant gaps in this area and in this community for this level of care, which is why we are pretty solidified with, we think this is the number of beds that we need to do for this area to be able to serve the most clients.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on the board before I ask the public to come forward? Okay. Before I ask the public to come forward, I want to make sure everybody understands. We're going to start with people in the room. That's number one. Number two, you need to speak into the microphone. First, you're going to be sworn in, then you're going to need to speak in the microphone. Please do your best to not repeat yourself. It's getting late. Everybody in here has a right to get their points across, but let's be concise if possible. And then lastly, in regard to that, as you make points or raise questions, the applicants have the right to cross-examine you and ask you questions. So be prepared to possibly respond to a question from their counsel. All right, so public counsel, first person, please come forward.
May I just ask for clarification? The Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code in Section 908 talks about parties to hearings. And it's...
I'm glad you brought that up.
It's parties to hearings that have the right to be sworn and present evidence and to cross-examine witnesses and similarly to be cross-examined. If someone is not a party, then...
That's 100% correct.
Public comment there would be no reason for the person to be sworn because they're not a party. They don't have the right to provide evidence. They can provide public comment.
Historically, we take their public comment, but to your point, correct. If they're not going to be a party to the matter, they do not have a right to directly ask questions. So we will ask if they are requesting party status when they come forward. Mike, can you speak more on that, please?
Yeah, basically the notice provisions for this particular project, since it's a use variance, it's people within 400 feet of the facility itself. That's who you have to provide notice to the neighbors to. Those are the people that are entitled to be considered as parties. Outside that zone, they lack standing, I believe.
Okay, so when you come forward, we will ask if you're requesting party status, and then we'll need your address to verify if you're within the party status perimeter, I guess?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see how we do. We don't take questions from the crowd, so if right now is the time to come up, introduce yourself, get sworn in, and let us know if you're requesting party status. And at that time, if you have a question about party status, we can review that.
Hi, state and spell your name.
Frank Falco, F-R-A-N-K, F-A-L-K-O-W.
Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Are you requesting party status?
No, I live in close proximity, but not 400 feet or
Okay.
less. Okay, so I just have maybe 2.5 questions. I'll be very quick. They should be easy. One, if I may ask, I guess it's Michelle, What will the name of the facility be?
Mr. Chairman, this is exactly what I mean. He doesn't have the right to ask questions of the witnesses.
He can ask us, and then I can ask. How would you like to
Oh, I'm
go?
sorry. So I'm addressing
I mean,
you?
honestly, Mr. Jonas, if he has a question and you don't want your applicant answering, I understand. But he
just
can
trying-
say it out loud, she can decline the answer, and then if we find it's relevant, one of us can then ask the
I'm
question.
just trying to follow the statutory law, Mr. Chairman. It's important.
Mike, am I violating statutory law in this regard?
Well, technically, you can't really sort of do it through the back door to, they either have party status or they don't. Certainly, the board can ask any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
Mr. Jonas, I apologize. So, yeah, it sounds like you're not going to be able to directly ask questions of our applicants because you do not have party status.
Okay, am I
Let me
allowed to ask?
qualify that, just unless they can show standing outside of the zone.
Why don't you ask your questions, Frank, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
There you go. One, I just want to know what the name of the facility is going to be. Is it going to follow the Florida facility naming protocol like Banyan, Sebring will be Banyan Lower Makefield or Banyan Yardley? Or we'll say drug and treatment, mental health treatment on these signs, that's all.
Is that his only question, Mr. Chairman?
Is that your only question? I thought he said he had two
I
questions.
do, okay, I'll throw them all
Before
out
you
there.
answer your next one, is that an acceptable one, or do you want to hear them all?
I'd like to hear all the questions
Okay,
first.
that's
and then
fair.
Perhaps we
Okay.
can
That's
resolve it.
fair.
With regard to parking, right now, there are a couple of vehicles that are on the site of the company that held the property before. And I realized that, well, I was going to say that you're not necessarily going to have outing trips because they have a bus there, but it does appear that there will be outings. My question is simple. Will there be any, outside of the employees bringing their own vehicles and parking in those 38 spots, will there be any company-owned vehicles on the property, whether security, whether a maintenance van, any of those? And then the last question was because the patients will have the ability to leave at will or voluntarily sign themselves out. Will the rooms be secured? Will the windows be locked, or will anyone have access to leave the facility through windows? Even if doors are locked inside, will the windows be secured? Those are my questions.
There's his questions. Thanks, Mr. Jonas.
So the naming of this facility will be called Clearbrook Behavioral Health. It does follow our naming convention for our other locations that we have in Pennsylvania. So that's what will be on the signs. Windows are locked. The only exit would be the doors that are also locked on our facility. And what was the other question?
It was about parking. Will you have
Oh.
any company-owned, will there be any company-owned
The only
vehicles?
company-owned vehicles we have are our transportation vehicles that bring clients to and take clients from. They're a white passenger van or a Ford Explorer SUV. So maybe one every so often, but not routinely sitting there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Please state and spell your full name.
Karen Smeltz.
Spell that, please.
Karen, Karen, Smeltz, Smeltz.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
That building, that they're talking about using, has never been a secure building. It was never built to be a secure building. From the first day it opened as Clare Bridge of Lower Makefield, patients were walking out. These are Alzheimer's patients who didn't know where they were going, didn't know where they were. It was a very dangerous situation. I became aware of it a week later when they hired me to monitor the front doors so that at least the patients couldn't get out that way. They had 4-digit codes on every door that led to the outside. But within hours, some of the patients had picked up on that and were just watching the employees punch in the codes and then doing it themselves so they could get out without setting off an alarm. Now, in this case, you're dealing with patients who are not handicapped in the same way as the Alzheimer's patients were. So they won't have any trouble at all figuring out how to get out of that building if they want to. The fact that the building is next to a very large nursery school, which is protected only by a very low fence, about 3 or 4 foot high, and the children play outside there every day. What's to prevent an interaction between these preschool-age children and the residents who just wander off from this facility? I'm also concerned about the safety of the residents in the area. When I first met my husband, his family lived in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and as some of you may know, Lewisburg is the home of a large federal penitentiary. Now, a federal penitentiary, one would think, would have extremely good security and not letting people just walk out of there. And yet, over and over again, I heard stories about how their cars had been stolen from their driveway, or the houses of their neighbors had been broken into by people looking for resources to escape from the area because they had walked away from that prison. What's to prevent people who don't want to be in this facility or decide they're fed up with it from just doing the same thing? There's a safety issue, not only for people like me, elderly people who live on that road, but there are people with young children there. There are people whose grandchildren visit them regularly on that street and play out in their yards. How can you even consider allowing a kind of insecure situation with people who are not making good decisions or not capable of making good decisions, when so many innocents are involved in this situation and are potential victims of what could happen there? I'm asking you to consider not just the legalities of the situation, but what you owe to the fellow citizens. My house is directly across the street from this place. I've lived there almost 50 years. I intend to stay there until I die, God willing, if I'm well enough to stay in that place. But I am actually terrified of something going wrong in this situation. One of the people who, again, are not making good decisions on their own, just deciding to leave, seeing a car in my driveway, and deciding they want to steal it or break into the house and see what else they can find. Please consider the people you are putting at risk if you allow this to go forward. There are a lot of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment in the room? Any public comment online? Oh, we have someone coming forward.
My name's Richard Adams. I live on Village Road, right across the street.
You have to be sworn in and you have to talk into the microphone.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
You said you had 16 facilities in the country, right?
Again, do you want to vet him to see if he
Well,
warrants party
I'm within
status?
the borders, so I don't see why not.
Yeah, I've already stuck my foot in my mouth once, so I'm not going to do it twice. Mike, you want to weigh on this? You and Mr. Jonas decide what kind of questioning we can and cannot
I
have?
think he just identified himself as within the 400 feet, so I think he is party status.
Okay, then.
Okay,
So is he seeking party status? I'm trying to understand.
This is why I was asking for help. Are you seeking party status?
what do you mean party status?
Do you live within the 400 feet?
Yes, I am.
I know, will you explain party status to him, Mike?
No, I'm within 400 feet.
Right, so now you say, yes, I'm requesting party.
Yes, I am.
Excuse me, I'm a little confused. I know there's a township supervisor. She's represented by counsel, but so
I'm
shouldn't
a resident.
her attorney be speaking for her instead
also
of
an
weighing in
attorney.
individually?
I'm a mental health attorney, but no.
Are you
I
a
can-
township supervisor?
I am.
You're represented by counsel?
I can be.
So we should be hearing from her attorney and not from the individual? unless she's going to testify.
Noted. Mike?
Again, if people are entitled to party status, they should say that they're seeking party status, like this gentleman is. We believe that he's within that zone. Outside of that, and
2902 Village Road.
No, you're missing the point, sir. If you want the right to directly ask questions of the applicants, you have to declare that you want party status.
Okay, I want party status.
Okay.
And I'd like to ask some questions.
That's your right.
Mr. Adams,
You get to go first.
what are your concerns that are different than any other member of the public, including Ms. Smeltz, who spoke before you, and the gentleman who spoke before that? What are the impacts or concerns that distinguish you from any other member of the general public?
Okay, you said you had a 90% success rate, which means you have a 10% unsuccessful rate, which leaves about 6.5 people that are unsuccessful in your treatment plans. You have 16 facilities across the country, correct?
Sir, the question is, what is it about your concerns that are different than any member of the general public who are concerned for whatever the reason? Why are your concerns different and distinguished?
You have 16 facilities across the country, and how many of them are put next to a child daycare center?
Object to his party status.
Mike, who makes this decision, please?
Well, I believe the board's entitled to make the
If
decision.
you prefer not to answer that question, that's fine with me.
I believe that if the gentleman is within the zone, he's generally entitled to party status. I don't think that merely having a duplicative type of concern is necessarily.
We're gonna choose to grant you party status, and then would you like to? Your objection will be noted on record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, please proceed.
Do you have an answer to that question?
What was the question?
Yeah, can you repeat it, please?
Okay, you said you had 16 facilities across country, and how many of them are next door to a child care center?
You know?
I do not know that answer.
Okay.
For all 16 facilities. I don't know that answer.
Have you guys considered any other locations?
I know that I was not part of that process, but yes, they looked at other locations prior to obtaining this location.
Also, I'm aware that there's a facility near Court Creek Park that does the same type of thing. It's another one, that's in Langhorne. I guess that's it. Oh, and one more question. You say the doors are all locked and everything. What if there's a fire? Are you prepared to?
They have magnetic locks that unlock when the fire alarm goes off.
Okay.
It's part of the code. It's required.
All right. I guess that's it. No further questions.
Thanks, Mr. Adams. By the way, when you come up for public comment, you could, if you are granted party status, you can ask questions, or you could just make a comment like Mrs. Smeltz did so eloquently.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? All right. How about we go with people online? How many people do we have online?
We have 3 callers online.
All right, we have 3 callers online. Melissa and everyone and the other 2 people, please be concise. It is getting very late. Melissa, you're going to be sworn in by Ed.
Please state and spell your full name.
Melissa Zerbe. That's Melissa, Z as in zoo, ER, B as in boy, E.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Melissa, before you start, what is your address?
So I own a business at 207 and 208 Floralvale Boulevard in the Floralvale Professional Park there. I believe I'm within the 400 yards. And I am requesting party status so as to preserve my right for appeal.
Okay, granted.
Note our objection. The witness is not in the room. It deprives us of the reasonable ability to cross-examine.
Objection noted.
So I think all my questions were answered, but they weren't answered in a way that left me feeling, any ease about this whole situation. My business is a dance studio, and I serve numerous families of children from age 3 to 17. So these young children are there at my studio. We're there often in evening hours when there's not a lot of other people or activity in the park. So I have great concerns about, it's already been said that people cannot be stopped. It doesn't sound like there's any kind of significant security there at all. And I really think we need to think about this where children are concerned, and we're talking about people with mental illness. I think we all know, what can happen. And I just really am strongly objecting to the granting of this variance. I don't begrudge anyone to get treatment. That's great. But I just think this is really the wrong location for that. And someone else has mentioned the preschool already. So you're in stone's throw of 2 schools. And I really do wonder if these things are often set up within educational systems nearby. So that's pretty much it for me. I just, really want to go on record that I oppose this.
Thank you, Melissa. Ms. Parks, is there actual security on site, like people who play security roles, or is it just the doors are locked and you have professional people trained to deal with?
We have professional people on site trained to deal with that.
Okay, thank you. I brought that up because she brought up security.
Sure, that's fine.
I thought you had a right to
Yeah.
address that.
Yes.
All right, who is next?
Mr. Chairman, can we have the address of the person who just spoke, please?
Oh, the address of the person who just spoke owns 207 and 208 Floralvale Boulevard.
And is anybody present who can confirm whether that address was on the list of people within 400?
Yeah, I should be able to right now.
Our next caller is Elaine.
Yes, hello. I'm requesting party status. My name is Elaine Torres Melendez, and I have a dental practice in operation for the last 34 years at 307 Floralvale Boulevard.
All right, before we proceed, I want to answer Mr. Jonas' question. I can't look at the map right now and tell, but Jim, can you look it up in public records to see if it's in the catchment area, please?
Isn't the notice to the neighbors one of the board exhibits?
Yeah. So her name is included in that.
It's actually included on your exhibit that you had prepared. So the answer is yes.
And what about 307?
Let's get back to her. Excuse me, miss, can you identify yourself again and be sworn in?
307 is also on that list.
Thank you.
They're actually closer.
Thank you, Jim.
And would you state and spell your full name, please?
Elaine, Elaine. My last name is TORRES-MELENDEZ.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Are you requesting party status?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Jonas?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. You have the floor.
Yeah, I am in support of the previous individuals that have come forth to express their concerns. As I said before, I've been in practice for 34 years in that area since the complex was established. From my rear operatory, I can visualize the rear portion of what I would call the nursing home facility. I think it's very crowded as it is, and it was stated before, it's a 4.3-acre facility in an area that's required 25 acres of space. I have safety concerns. I am very concerned about the changing of the usage of the building, the nursery school, the dance school, and my very vulnerable patients that come in and they are disabled and vulnerable. I think also that a 9% walkout rate away from treatment is not a small amount, and it should be given due consideration. I think we have plenty of open spaces to locate a much needed facility like this, but not at the corner of Township Line Road and Langhorne Road. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Next person.
Okay, he's the president of our board.
All right, we still have Elaine. Can we? All right, perfect.
Sir, would you state and spell your full name, please?
Hello, my name is Michael Evon, MICHAEL EVON.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Michael, before we start, can you give us your address, please?
Sure, it's 201, 202, and 206 Floral Boulevard. I've received letters and I am requesting full party status.
Are you a tenant or an owner of that property?
Owner.
Okay. And I apologize, are you requesting party status?
I am requesting party status, please.
Okay. Mr. Jonas?
Note my objection to persons who are granted party status who are not in the room and are available for cross-examination.
Noted.
Well, as a representative of Floralville Professional Park, I am the president, and I am a business owner, and I wanted to voice my concerns also for the daycare, which abuts that property. And as was previously mentioned, there is a very small chain link fence that is between that property and the daycare. And I believe, as Dr. Torres has stated, that this type of property is really a little undersized. It really should be a larger size. I believe that with the current variance, it actually extends onto our property as being Floralville Professional Park. And also a concern with the dance studio. I just left my office to be able to stay on this meeting, and it's a very dark area, and I am concerned about the safety of the girls at the dance studio and some boys, and then also the young children during the day. I do have a question regarding what would the local impact be on the police? Is this something that's going to put more burden on our local police force?
Ms. Parks, I think he wants you to answer that and do your best. If you don't have an answer, you don't have an answer.
Sure. I don't have any specific numbers that I can give you about impact to the police department. Police are rarely called to a facility site, so that's probably the only answer that I can give you. Should not be a high impact.
Okay. I also have a concern because the parking in our complex is rather limited, and if there is any overflow from your units because not having enough, I could see people parking in our complex and actually walking over. So I do have some concern about that. Primarily, I just wanted to be on the record saying that this seems like your facility is a little undersized for that location. even though it does seem to work rather well for you. And I do admit that, this is a service that would definitely be used by the community. It just seems that that location may be a little bit of too small of a parcel size to be able to comply with the current variances that you're looking for. And I just want to be on the record stating that.
Thank you very much. Is there
Yeah, it's been a long night.
Yeah. Is there any more public comment online? That was the last public comment online. Last time, I'm going to ask if there's public comment in the room. All right, at this time, we're going to have a discussion up here to see if we're going to continue tonight or move forward, just because, at the very least, I think people are going to need a bathroom break. Board, what's your opinion? Jim? Ms. Carlton? Ms. Blundy? Don't be, you don't have to be that way for that question. I asked the question. No, I mean, is it reasonable that we could get this wrapped up by 11:30, Board? I think it is. Does anyone else think it is?
You said 10:30, right? Not 11:30?
Public comment, so.
All right, so is everybody good pressing on up here?
I think the safety concerns, everybody keeps forgetting that these people seeking treatment are going voluntarily. They're not being held against their will. I doubt that they're violent, dangerous criminals like would come out of a prison. And with the Alzheimer's situation, my mother had Alzheimer's, and I had a neighbor with Alzheimer's. Now, the neighbor, when he got sick, moved in with his daughter 10 miles away, and a few weeks later, he showed up at our door. He wandered that far because he was going where he thought he was supposed to be. It's a whole different ballgame to compare Alzheimer's and mental health issues. It's completely different, and I don't think that's a fair comparison.
All right, before we start debating all that, I think we need to take a restroom break. So we are going to press on. It's 11:07. 10:07. Or 10:07, I'm sorry. You know what? Now, I haven't set my watch back. I haven't set my watch back, and my phone's off. Oh, my God. That explains it. All right, so we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Everybody use the restroom, and when we come back, we'll pick this back up, Board. We are not to discuss this matter except only in a public forum, so there will be no discussing it. 5 minutes. I'm going to put my phone on. Back there? All right, Dave's ready. All right, guys, Suzanne, here we go. Let's get this thing kick-started. All right. So we heard from public comment. Now it's back to the board. So, board, before people start up here, start making points, does anybody have additional questions? Questions and points? Who wants to lead out?
I have a separate question. Why is the light on back there? What are you trying to tell us?
We have nothing to do with that.
No, not you.
Dave, are you still
IT.
back there? Because the light's on.
Dave, the light's on.
Thank you.
This way. This way, when Mark doesn't lean in, you can blink the light. All right, go ahead, Pete.
No, I think other people wanted to start off here, so.
All right, I'll lead out. So, obviously, this facility, in my opinion, this community and every community has a need for this type of facility. Everyone. I mean, clearly, drug abuse, substance abuse, mental health, all of it, they're epidemics in this country. So we definitely have, every community has a need for this. But before I start, I have one quick question for Jim Majewski. Jim, I thought Mr. Jonas was talking about earlier when we had a discussion that we don't have this isn't a land use that's recognized in our code. Is that correct?
Yes, basically, the way they describe their use doesn't neatly fit into any of the categories that we have.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that's how I heard it. Thank you. So again, clearly there's a need for this, but when I listen to public comment and I say to myself, we're asking for a use variance, and we don't even have, that use isn't even recognized in our township. And quite frankly, the use that's being proposed is concerning to me. It's absolutely concerning. I thought Mrs. Smeltz came up and was super compelling, living across the street. The residents of this facility, they suffer from instabilities. They are prone to making bad decisions. There is no way to physically keep them on the property. And historically, people with substance abuse issues will make bad decisions, are prone to theft. I'm nervous about. We have a proposed use that we don't even have on our books coming into a building that right now is for over age 55. I actually probably different from most people. I have less of a concern with the beds. If the specs, the regs say that they can have 65 beds, is that my recollection? I have it written down. 65 beds, if the regs say that, I'm okay with that. I have a problem with the use change. And then I also have a problem with the parking. I don't think the parking is adequate, far from adequate, quite frankly. I feel like when this facility's at capacity, we're going to have 6 extra spaces, and I just feel like on any given day, those 6 spaces could be taken by people supporting this facility, whether it's tradesmen, deliveries, landscapers, whatever. So, me sitting up here, I'm definitely going to have to be swayed to not be a no vote. I'm just letting you know where I stand on this. That's only my opinion, and that's what makes this board interesting. Everybody up here has different opinions, and we often go many different directions. So I'm very proud of this board that we don't just rubber stamp what someone says. So that's my opinion, people.
As a retired tradesperson who has parked my work van around many facilities. We rarely take up a parking space. We usually park up against the curb next to the nearest exit we can, so we don't have to carry our tools very far, and then we get out. I don't have an issue with the tradespeople that may have to come and go and do some service from time to time. If anybody here has ever known anyone who's been through any kind of counseling like this, inpatient, where they were staying at a facility, you would know that you can't just show up anytime you want to visit. And so I believe that a strict visitation policy will be adhered to, because I have seen it firsthand. Lastly, I had mentioned earlier in the meeting that we got a lot of this information to us emailed today, and I had a brief opportunity to do some searches on Banyan. And one of the things I searched was neighbor complaints around existing facilities, and I can't find any. I searched around every facility that came up on my list, lots of searches. I was looking to see if there was a problem, a habitual problem. I don't see it anywhere, so I'm not concerned with it at all.
I'm with Jim at the parking. We said that it was 65 beds because of the square footage of the facility, but there's not enough square footage for the parking. So I think that when you're building a facility this way or looking at it, that you need to line up with, all the different packages of it. I think you have enough room for beds, but you don't have enough room for parking. We got to lower the number of beds. All right.
Or increase the amount of parking. And I think another comment that's related to that was that the staffing is being driven by the state minimum requirement. Well, what if the state minimum requirement changes and it needs to be more? Or people overlap on a shift change, and now all of a sudden you have people from one shift overlapping with people from another shift. The parking does concern me. I see the reason for a facility of this type. As was discussed here, there certainly is a lot of demand. COVID certainly increased that in the general population. And I've known people that have used facilities around here. So I don't think people just are going to wander out. I just don't see that happening given my personal experience, but that's my personal experience. But I think the parking situation has to be dealt with. It's just way too tight, and any sort of change or missing the assumption there means there's not the space, and the only place that people can park is FIORELLI and then walk across the grass, which doesn't make a lot of sense, and it is pretty tight in FIORELLI in the middle of a business day. So that's my comments.
Mr. Chairman, may I say just one thing?
Absolutely.
There is a concept that I'm sure everyone knows about in land use, zoning, and subdivision land development of reserve parking. We have a shortfall under a formula, doesn't apply specifically to this use, but it seemed close. If it would persuade the board to grant the application, or our client, the applicant, would agree to design reserve parking, and at some point in the future, should it be determined by the township engineer or township traffic engineer that additional parking were needed, we would then go through whatever the process would be to implement the designed reserve parking.
So I don't know what the concept of reserve parking is.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
It's okay. No, I mean, I'm not going to, I want to be transparent, and I'm all for being educated. So fill me in.
So sometimes there is the opposite concern that a development, something proposed, is going to have too much parking, and parking that's never going to be used. So what developers, applicants, whether they're profit or nonprofit, whatever, will offer to a township is that we will comply with the total number of parking spaces by utilizing the spaces that are already built. And then, in this case, it's 16 shortfall. We will then design, in accordance with township regulations, impervious surface, stormwater management, we will design, for the approval of the township engineer, additional parking for 16 spaces on this site. Mr. Elko doesn't think we'll have an impervious question, and certainly it's been obvious by listening to your applications about swimming pools that you are concerned about stormwater management. So we would design it in a way that would be acceptable, and there would be a moment in that the township engineer, township traffic engineer would then report to the Board of Supervisors that they believe that the existing parking spaces are not adequate, and we should implement and then go through the process to get approval and to construct the additional parking and then be fully compliant.
So basically, you would engineer that plan, it would be recorded, yes?
Yes.
It would be recorded?
Yes.
And then there would be some kind of legal document that would give our engineers the ability to make the demand?
Your very able solicitor would provide a condition of approval by the zoning hearing board that would accomplish all of that.
Hear that, Mike? You're very able.
And I just met him, but I can tell.
I'm going to hand that back to Adam, just like.
Mike's filling in for our regular solicitor, Adam. Okay, well, listen, I already expressed how I feel, so that's not something that's going to sway me, but I think you made a compelling point. So people who have parking issues, you may want to discuss that. Before we jump right into that, Bob hasn't had a chance to speak on this matter. So, Bob, why don't you tell us how you feel and what your concerns are, or what you feel good about, either or, and then we can move back to the reserved parking issue.
Very well. Jim, I have a couple of questions for you. If you could give me a clarification of what land use was currently granted for the previous building that was there, or the previous business that was there? Current business that's there? Thank you.
Yes. Let's see, my brain's not functioning. The prior use was for an assisted living facility.
And we have that's part of our ordinances, assisted living facility.
That is correct.
Okay. So, and that's what the statutes were calculated for, Mr. Elko? Yes. Okay. And
Need a microphone.
for the 65 and for the 58 requirement, the 58 space requirement, those are the 16 additional that would be, it's designed for the assisted living facility.
No, the assisted living facility has 38 spaces, and that conforms with that use. The 54 parking spaces is what is needed for
The additional head count.
community treatment rehabilitation center use.
Because of the additional head count.
It's because of the way that you calculate the parking. So it's based on beds, based on employees.
Okay. I also reviewed the original variance that was granted in 1985.
95.
So that didn't say anything about there being only one egress. Is there a requirement to have more than one egress? Is that, more of fire code than?
Typically, one egress is acceptable. I'm not sure if they have provisions for emergency access to the site on there. That's something we could look into.
And other facilities, Ms. Parks, you have similar multiple entrances or exits?
Yes, depending on the site, depending on the location.
So my background is actually facilities management. And, I actually identified a couple of spaces where I could put some parking spaces and, but that's a different story. But the requirement for a number of contractors on site, I don't know how much of an infrastructure you're going to rebuild, because that's going to influence how many people you need to bring in to service that equipment. Just on the roof itself, I had seen 4 HVAC units plus individual units around the outside of the building, just from the limited video observation that we saw. So, but as far as, since there's really no guidance, pardon me, since there's really no guidance as far as, land use, I'm actually probably leaning towards voting for this.
All right, so Mr. Jonas brought up the issue of reserved parking, and we have two of our members have concerns about parking. You guys want to chop that up? And then Maureen, I want you to weigh in as well, please.
I like the concept or the idea of the reserved parking with having the design there. I don't know how that is executed from a legal perspective, and I would like to hear some advice with regards to that.
Well, I have a limited understanding of it as well, but I believe basically what it is, it's a recorded plan that is generated based on whatever the perceived need is, that as the township or the township's engineer moves forward and the facility's in operation, if it's determined that there is inadequacies, if, there's observable problems with, insufficient parking or people double parking in what should be a fire lane, any type of obstruction, then it would be a condition of the original approval that the township or its engineer could require that plan to go into effect and the facilities to be constructed.
Would money be held in escrow, or because it's like kind of so ambiguous, maybe not hold money in escrow? I mean, how would that traditionally work?
Well, I don't think that you hold, maybe Jim.
Mr. Majewski?
Yeah, actually, the concept of reserving parking for non-residential properties is contemplated in our zoning ordinance. So I think they recognized when they did that sometimes our parking requirements may be a little onerous or didn't fit all situations. So they established that the township may allow for the reservation of parking, provided they can demonstrate they have sufficient room on the site. In order to accomplish that, they would need to prepare a plan, as someone had stated, or exhibit, record a document, and establish a performance bond that would guarantee that if that became necessary in the future, they could do that. As Robert noted, or Bob noted, just looking at the site plan, I saw a room for 3 or 4 extra parking spaces that could be added easily. They have 10-foot wide spaces. The township now permits smaller spaces if approved by the Board of Supervisors, which generally, except for high turnover areas, like if you had a Wawa, which we won't have, you'd want to have wider spaces. But, they can get closer to that and design an area based on their site plan that would effectuate that.
What's the code reference there?
(200-78K).
Thank you.
How you doing over there, Maureen? You okay, or do you want to weigh in?
The township sent us this evening to oppose because of the health, safety, welfare concerns of its residents. That's the reason why we're here. Parking is an issue. Does the reserved parking concept address it? Possibly. Although, as all of you on this board know, and being residents of the township, increasing impervious surface for parking purposes is not a great love of the supervisors because of stormwater issues, impervious surface ratios issues, et cetera. I guess we'd rather see a reduction in beds as opposed to an increase in the parking. And if you are inclined to approve this, one thing that goes with the use change is the security issue. And the taxing or the use of our police and EMS. Given the nature of the residents and how it was described, how they operate the facility, I'd really like to see, or the township would like to see, some cooperation between the applicant or the owner and our local, our EMS and our police force to make sure that our residents are safe and that the security systems in place are, I'd like to say, more than adequate, and really do protect our citizens. Is there anything I'm missing, Supervisor Blondie?
I mean, is that something legally that we would include in making a motion tonight?
Hate to push on your solicitor, but it's something that they could decide, but I would like to see it in a motion if you were inclined to vote affirmatively.
All right, I don't know that anyone even knows how to make that motion. Like, how are we framing that?
That the applicant would cooperate with our local police force and EMS services to provide security to their reasonable satisfaction.
Okay, so we're not talking about anything monetarily, like additional taxation, nothing
Oh,
like
no, no, I'm not suggesting that.
That's something the applicant would accept.
I had a feeling. All right, any additional questions? At this time, would someone like to make a motion?
I think we are. All right, I make a motion to approve Appeal Z-25-38 as presented with the additional comments that reserved parking per code paragraph 200-78K is to be provided for the calculated 16 spaces difference that was shown in the applicant's presented parking plan, parking quantification, and that the applicant will cooperate and meet with the local police and EMS forces to work on plans to reduce demands on the local system.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Let it be noted, 2 members opposed, 3 members granted the requested variance. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right. Before we adjourn for the night. Let's discuss future meetings. Jim, you said something about we only have one matter on our next agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct. We were going to have the floodplain one due to a scheduling conflict by the attorney. They're not able to make it. So that will be continued until the meeting in January. We may have 2 meetings in January possibly, and there's no need for meeting on December 16th.
All right. So we're discussing What date is it? December 2nd? That meeting?
Yeah, there's one application on
Okay.
that meeting.
So at this point, should we make a motion to cancel the December 16th meeting, or should we wait till December 2nd?
I don't think there's time between now and that second December meeting to get another one on there,
And
right?
let's make a motion to cancel December 16th.
Motion to cancel the December 16th meeting of the zoning hearing board.
So is this my going away meeting? Is this the celebration? It hasn't really led up to what I expected.
So we have a motion to cancel the December 16th
I think I just said that.
meeting.
Second.
Second. Discussion. This is where you talk up Suzanne about going away.
I believe that Flager and Associates already has a plan for the 16th.
Yes.
Bring the dog.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any additional business we need to discuss? Someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.